Welcome to Snark Marks, everybody. We're a very funny podcast out of the Central Valley of California. I'm Andrew. That's Dusty Godwin.
Hey.
And we've also got Dusty Strickland.
Hello.
And Jacob Cotner.
Hey!
Hey!
I don't want to speak for the other Dusty, but if you could refer to us as Dusty 1 and Dusty 2, that really help.
Listen, Dusty Boogaloo. We can do it. Follow us on all the socials.
Does that go by like age or what? No, sorry, buddy.
No, you're fine. We were going closest to the equator for some reason. So Dusty Strickland from Arkansas is Dusty 1, and then Dusty Godwin is Dusty 2. I mean, Dusty 2's been second fiddle his whole life, so it doesn't.
No.
It doesn't matter.
I cede the floor to Dusty 1.
Yeah, out of respect, because he was a Refund Theater fan.
That's
Dusty
true.
listened to probably 100 episodes of that show that we did. So
it's like meeting your heroes, you know.
That was you?
That was me. I was the one.
We're trying to convince him that Ben was just AI, but you know
that's why he's not here today, because like he's gone rogue and he's a sentient being.
Well, he did take a sabbatical right in the middle of it, so we don't know what happened during that. He could have been alien swapped or cloned or whatever.
It was a really unfortunate software update. He only spoke Korean after it came out. We couldn't do it. But follow us on all the socials. I'm at Andrew Idell on Instagram. Dusty is at SnarkMarkD on Twitter. We are at Snark Marks Pod on both of those things. Jacob's at Jacob Cotner. And Dusty is at Akumatat. Is that how I say that?
Like an Akuma tattoo.
Akuma tattoo. Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's a tattoo. Okay. And then, there's a reason that we brought you guys on here. You guys know that?
No, I thought you just bored or something.
Well, I told Dusty 1 that I'm trying to figure out a way to weasel Refund Theater back together. But no, it is. So Dusty 2 and I have been talking about, we want to do a bracket of the funniest movies ever made, in our opinion, generally. So we've got 3 movies. We want a 4th. The 3 movies that are locked in are Tropic Thunder, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and Dumb and Dumber. Those are the 3 movies that we have locked in. We need a 4th movie. So the purpose of this specific episode of the podcast, that originally was going to have 6 people on it, was to chaotically argue about what the 4th movie should be, basically.
I've got a couple of suggestions. I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. So what we've got, I'll share my screen. As you guys can see, we are very high tech here. I'm going to use a Word pad because I don't have Microsoft Word on my computer. So our idea is Sandler movie. We got a Sandler movie. We got a Farrell movie. We wanted Mike Myers, but I think we just do Austin Powers at that point. Because Wayne's World's close. Well, Wayne's World's close, but I watched International Man of Mystery, and god damn, that movie's funny. So, and then Borat with a question mark. So this is our starting off point for the discussion of this 4th movie.
Okay. All of this to also lead to the ultimate winner of this 4 movie bracket faces the undisputed king, Jackass number 2, in the finals.
Yeah.
To try to determine the funniest movie ever made. This is Andrew's idea because Jackass number 2 is the hardest he's ever laughed in the movie theater, which gives it the automatic bye.
Just to cut in there, I'd like to contend though that not only Borat's the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie theater, especially the scene where he's chasing that naked guy around or whatever, in the hotel. That killed me.
With the balls in his face and everything.
But I don't know if that could be considered a comedy or just less of kind of a documentary style movie. Also, Jackass. Comedy is an art. And comedy movies are a special thing that can only be achieved. I mean, you can get a bunch of guys to fucking make rattlesnakes bite their balls for 2 hours. And that is funny. But it's not the art, you know what I mean? It's not UHF.
I see your point. But if you get any random friend group of like 6 guys and tell them to go out and make a Jackass movie, they're not making a funny movie. Like, there's something special about Knoxville and
I will attest.
Steve-O.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
Well, yeah,
I would
they're
say
the
there's
best.
Yeah, so I would say there is art to that, but I would also say that's actually why we're giving it the bye to the end, because we're putting these conventional movies up against this different category thing to see if they hold up against those things themselves. So, I mean, I watched Jackass 2 for Refund Theater with you two guys.
Mm-hmm. It's funny as hell. It really is. It's a roller coaster of a time. It makes you wince. It makes you scream.
It does give you the gamut of human emotion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, but that's more of a highlight reel. It's just kind of.
And God damn it, is a good one.
It's a really good, just as Borat is too. I mean, Borat, the premise behind I'm in on this joke, but nobody else is. That's fucking funny shit. No matter how especially when you get somebody as talented as Sacha Baron Cohen at I don't know, playing the character and sticking to it. But yeah, man, a comedy movie, which they don't make anymore. Let's be honest.
Not really anymore. Like, that's the thing. They try.
Yeah, the last good one I saw was No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. Did you guys see that?
Dusty saw it. Dusty 2 saw it. I think he might be frozen, though. Dusty, are you there?
I think Dusty's frozen. He looks like Joe Biden. He's just standing there.
It's a deep fake. I swear to God. Yeah, Dusty 2 is frozen. He saw No Hard Feelings, and he said that it was pretty good. He said it was pretty good. That's kind of how he said it. Good. Like, it wasn't didn't knock his socks off, but he said it was pretty good.
Didn't change my life, but fun time. Decent enough.
Dusty 1, did you see No Hard Feelings?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, neither did I.
I'm trying to think of the last straight up comedy that I watched.
It's weird.
I haven't watched any comedies lately.
I've talked about it on here where they make Dusty said, "Go on without me, I'll be back." Well, we were gonna. Okay. So nowadays they make No Hard Feelings. I appreciate it. I didn't watch it, but I appreciated that they were making a comedy again, instead of just a dog's cussing movie, or the sausage in the fucking fridge cusses, or let's make a kid's cussing, all those different movies where it's we're gonna take things that usually aren't naughty and make them naughty. It's all right, we don't need that anymore. So
I must say, you reminded me of Strays just then, and that movie was pretty fucking funny.
That's the dog's cursing movie. Andrew hates that movie.
Yeah.
He hates it on principle.
I haven't seen it. I hate it on principle. I'm gonna turn my ceiling fan on real quick.
No, there were jokes in there I enjoyed. I don't know if this part got brought up already, but it's for comedy movies now, they have to hybrid the movie. So it's it's an action comedy, but not in the Lethal Weapon kind of way. I just watched Hitman on Netflix, the Richard Linklater movie. There were some funny jokes in that movie, but it's not designed to be a comedy movie.
Do you know who I blame for that, Dusty?
Who's that? You? Because you don't go to comedy?
Look at the look in my face. Look at the look in my eyes. Guess who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, just heap it on. Heap it on.
Fucking Marvel, bro. It's Marvel's fault, dude. They're ruining everything. Even I bet the next fucking crop of romantic comedies is gonna need some sort of superpowers or something.
Oh, they already made that. My Superhero Ex-Girlfriend or whatever. Hey, Dusty, do you remember the No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence? You saw that?
I did see that. Yes.
I thought that was a pretty decent shot.
Yeah, but I thought it's still a romantic comedy. It's not I don't know what you would consider a straight up comedy these days, but yeah, that had jokes, and it was reminded me of the 90s movies where there's the high concept premise, Trading Places or Brewster's Millions or whatever. I guess those are in the 80s, but there's some sort of weird conceit, and then you build the comedy around that. That's a successful movie. And then Anyone But You, the Sydney Sweeney, Glenn Powell movie, made more money, even though that's not as good a movie. That movie's not nearly as funny as No Hard Feelings was. It just sort of rode the wave where people were like, oh yeah, we do like going to the movies to see this. It doesn't like Andrew said, unfortunately, doesn't just have to be superheroes or avatars for me to want to go to the theater to see it, you know?
And that's the thing. So when we talk about like they don't make comedies anymore, when we went through the movies that we were selecting, there was one genre of comedy that I think deserved consideration. I'm not saying we have to put it in, but the titty comedy, meaning, like I'm not just saying, meaning old school, Wedding Crashers, American Pie, something like that.
Motherfucker says old school, and I'm like, yeah, the '80s. Like, I'm like Porky's.
Yeah,
This,
well, that too. Porky
you know.
started it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I meant old school. The
Old
movie
school.
Old School.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So you meant old school. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I peeped that pretty recently. Parts of it, and it's still pretty funny.
Yeah.
What part?
Will Ferrell's great in it.
Jacob,
What'd you say?
what parts?
Shoot, you know,
The titty
Oil wrestling.
the diarrhea scene in the tub was pretty great.
Will Ferrell shooting himself in the neck with the sleep dart is really funny.
Of course, that's classic. You know, that's really good stuff. Will Ferrell's got some really great comedies. I'll say that. I don't know why they stopped, man. I mean, they stopped making spoofs, which bums me out because, like, I love a good spoof. I'm a big fan of that. Scary Movie came along and, you know, like kind of redefined the spoof. And after that hit, they made like 5 of those, but they also made like that date movie and like disaster.
That's why
movie
they stopped
and,
spoofs.
like, dude, and they got so like they weren't even spoofs. They were more of just references. And it wasn't even like a joke. It was just like, now we're making fun of 300, but there's no joke. You know, like it's just and
I think the word you're looking for is subtlety, Jacob. There's no subtlety.
God, back in the day though, like Airplane and one of my favorite spoofs of all time got Back to the Beach, which spoofs and Annette Funicello and Frankie beach movies, but that's a spoof of those movies.
It's Jacob's favorite movie of all time, and he's the only
second
person
favorite
I know
movie
that.
of all time.
Oh yeah, Jaws is his favorite movie of all time. But
where they shouldn't go back to the beach. It's really
nobody references Back to the Beach.
I love that movie. If we were going to talk comedies, I have to at least say it once. Back to the Beach is one of the funniest
all right,
movies
so
I've
it's
ever
Tropic,
seen.
it's Tropic Thunder.
Yep.
It's 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's Dumb and Dumber. Back to the Beach.
Back to the Beach. With Frankie
See,
and
like
Annette.
I wasn't around to pick them or 40-Year-Old Virgin or Tropic Thunder, and I don't consider either of those very good.
God, I remember you said you saw Tropic Thunder once and it didn't do much for you.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Long ago.
Totally fair. I liked it less the first time I watched it. I have a really funny story about watching it in the theaters, but just the performance of fucking Robert Downey Jr. in that movie. But anyway, 40-Year-Old Virgin.
How that's okay when other people like, you know, like I mean, like, well, in fact, I was in a room with Robert Downey Jr. just the other day, and I didn't get to talk to him about this, but I would have asked him. I'd be like, "How did you get away with blackface?"
Well, because the point of his character was that was about people being completely not realizing the people not caring about the people that they're offending by what they're doing. It's about being an actor caring more about his art than actually what it is, and it's about how stupid actors are. Like, it wasn't like, hey, blackface is good and funny. It's like, this guy's a fucking moron and won't get out of this character. There's a lot of nuance in the character.
I guess his character likes to use the R word too. I guess I don't know, man.
I think so. The reason Tropic
every movie we watch is going to have an R word. I can tell you that.
The reason Tropic Thunder is on because I nominated the 40-Year-Old Virgin and Tropic Thunder. And the reason Tropic Thunder works for me is I think it's the funniest movie about making movies.
It's also a spoof movie, kind of,
that I've ever seen, because it's about making the movie Tropic Thunder and about all of these weird outsized egos and performances and how stupid and odd it is that people go in the jungle and pretend to make war, and then what would they really do? if they got in a situation. And like Robert Downey Jr. is a method act or has been a method actor. You know, whenever he was in Chaplin, he learned to do all of Chaplin stuff and learned to do it left-handed and all that. And then he plays this guy that's so committed to method acting, which we've all agreed is very stupid, that he doesn't see why putting blackface on is the worst thing that he can do. Like,
they do reference it in the movie,
right?
I mean, like,
so I think that's why. Like, I think it's the funniest movie about making movies, because I think Ben Stiller is sneaky smart in the way that he makes the movie. So that's why I think it works for me, is because he's so good. Ben Stiller's so good at putting in the real stuff because he's been through all of that. Like Tug Speedman as this washed up action star as a sort of code for Tom Cruise, who's also in the movie. Like, all of it is so meta that it like really works for me. And I was like amazed watching it, like, man, I can't believe they're really doing this, and they got everybody to be in it to do it also.
That Tom Cruise performance when that kid's pissing him off or whatever on the other end of the phone or whatever, like, that's really good stuff.
He tells him to fuck his own face. The movie, I didn't even realize that was Tom Cruise till the end, by the way. Like, it took me a long time. Makeup. But like the trailers at the beginning of the movie, they make spoof trailers, and the Ben Stiller trailers where he's being the action star, and he's I always reference this one. He's on top of a mountain, it's a blizzard, it's an icy mountain. He's standing there, and there's like a helicopter shot around him, and he's holding a baby in one hand and a machine gun in his other hand, and the camera zooms in on him, and he goes, "Who left the fridge open?" It's just such a good spoof of actors taking themselves seriously. Like, I love Tropic Thunder. So, but that's why we picked those three movies, and we're like, these three are in. Let's talk about the fourth. So
that's good. I can I touch on 40-Year-Old Virgin for a second?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Don't hate that movie at all.
Yeah.
That's a Judd Apatow movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's so fucking long. It's so long.
I gotta look up the runtime, because you know me, I hate long movies.
It's
too.
over 2 hours.
It's over
that
2. I remember
movie...
being in the theater and being like, I was having a good time up until about the 90-minute mark, and now I'm wondering how long this is going to take, and
so
where it's, you know.
It's 116, the theatrical version, 116 minutes.
A cut under 2.
It's 133, the unrated version. So This is what I'll give it, though. Most unrated versions are like there's one extra boob, or like there's a fuck word somewhere randomly that they took out or something like that. This unrated version added 17 minutes to the movie. I bet it's not 17 good minutes.
Yeah.
But at least you got something out of buying an unrated version of something.
That's kind of what we'll talk about with Dumb and Dumber, what they did to that with the unrated version, which is just add deleted scenes that really should have been deleted and put it back in the movie. And it's actually, if I was giving a film class, I would be like, this is how editing can fuck up a movie. You know, and be like, see, this is a perfect movie, Dumb and Dumber, right here. It's perfectly edited. And here's it with 20 extra minutes, and see how it flows, man.
The only two things that they added that I thought were funny in that unrated version, if I remember, these are two unrated version scenes where Lloyd and when Harry and Lloyd are in the hot tub, and Lloyd's got the glass against the wall, and he's listening to people have sex next to him, and he just keeps going, "Yeah, get her." That's very funny.
Yeah,
and when he's looking in the mirror at himself, and he realizes that if they got married, Mary's name would be Merry Christmas. But other than that, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Okay, we can talk.
I'm interested, Dusty One. Where are your thoughts on comedy movies in general? What do you think about the comedies we picked? Where do you go for, like, what works for you in the comedy?
Weirder shit than what y'all picked. Like, I tend to not shit that I watched a lot when I was a teenager when it came out, Dumb and Dumber, that kind of stuff. Just kind of didn't do it for me much anymore. But like I watched the shit out of 40-Year-Old Virgin when it came out, but I haven't seen it in years. Same way, there was a lot of burnout on that kind of stuff when it come out. That, Anchorman, you know, they were all hilarious and got played through the roof, but I hadn't seen a bunch of them, and every one of them after that was just a little less. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see what gets brought up.
Because we discussed Anchorman, but the problem with Anchorman was people drove Anchorman into the ground. I still hear Anchorman reference too often. I don't care that San Diego means a whale's vagina. I don't 60% of the time it works every time. Go fuck yourself. Like, stop saying that joke. Stop referencing that movie. The same thing happened with Borat. Like, thankfully people stopped doing it, doing the Borat voice all the time. We talked about this on Refund Theater. It's back. It's funny again if you do it sporadically. But like, Anchorman was really, in my opinion, ruined by its fans. It was the same thing with Napoleon Dynamite.
I want to give a shout out to Anchorman 2, but the version you've never seen before that's on the Blu-ray, that they literally took the whole movie and used alternate takes.
Yeah.
Like, so they made a whole new movie basically. And in that version, it shows his son a lot more, Will Ferrell's son. And this kid they got to play his kid is like one of the worst actors I've ever seen in my life. Every one of his line readings though is so fucking funny, because like you can tell they just like yelled a line at this kid and he's just like, okay, and he just says it. And dude, like it kills me. It kills me. So Anchorman 2, the other version.
I think we might have discussed this before. Anchorman 2 is the most angry I've ever been in a movie theater.
I like it better than the first one.
While watching a movie, it's the most angry I've ever been, because I was like, I can't believe they're doing this to me. The audacity they have to put this movie out. Like, the entire second act where Will Ferrell is pretending to be blind, I was like, dude, he already did it in Talladega Nights where he was paralyzed. It's the same set of jokes, except he's blind.
Took it way further, man.
And I was like,
so fucking hilarious.
He's not going to be blind, and it's going to be whatever. And I was so mad, so mad. Maybe I just didn't see it on the right day. You know, comedy happens that way. But I was like in the theater, fuming, like the hubris for them to put out this movie. And then for me to go see it and not enjoy it.
No, it got ultra ridiculous, which is where I want things to go. And so the blind thing, this is great to me.
All right, so let's do this. Let's start with the three that Dusty and I mentioned: the Sandler, the Ferrell, and the Mike Myers.
Ooh,
let's try to come to kind of a consensus on those, and then you guys can start throwing stuff at us, what you think we should add, and we will consider it. We're not married to this list. We're married to the first three, but we're not married to the final one. So Sandler's an interesting one. Sandler for us was Happy Gilmore. That was the one. Isn't that right, Dusty? We decided that if we were picking Sandler,
if we were picking a Sandler, it'd be Happy Gilmore. That's the one that I think probably holds up the best for me. And
I know Jacob's gonna pick some fucking Hubie Halloween shit. I know that's gonna happen. I heard Hubie Halloween's good though. I heard that movie's legitimately funny, but it's not making our.
Pretty good. It was pretty good.
Ridiculous 6 is more Jacob's speed.
I did really enjoy that.
Of course.
I ain't lying. I really did. I like that movie. Rob Schneider was very funny in that movie for me.
Dude, and I defended the shit out of Rob Schneider on this podcast.
Didn't you hear Rob Schneider's not allowed to be funny anymore, dude?
Listen, dude.
The mob's after him.
I don't care what he says. Okay? Holy shit, it's a cat from Mr. Deeds. Holy shit, it's a cat. Or fish, pony, hip hop anonymous from Big Daddy. You are in the rafters. Retire Rob Schneider's number. Those are all time. I don't care if he's.
Well, that was when he was allowed to be funny, Andrew. That was before the hashtag woke Hollywood got rid of him.
on You Can Do It is classic. You know, I mean, like that's classic. I love Happy Gilmore. I really do.
Yeah.
But I think if I were to put it up against Billy Madison, it'd probably win for me. Billy Madison would probably win for me.
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison
it would either be
more quotable.
It'd be Billy Madison or Big Daddy. Those are the ones I've seen the most. Those are the ones I quote the most. Everybody seems to love Waterboy. I never dug Waterboy that much. And the rest of his stuff is garbage.
I had a really, dude. I recently had a really, like, as Dusty said, you know, sometimes things catch you on the right day. I had a really good time with Little Nicky recently. Like that movie. When it came out, I was like, oh, why'd they do this? But now that it's just existed for a long time, and I can just accept that it's something that happened, I'm like, this is actually really fucking funny and charming.
When he sends the bees after Henry Winkler, and Henry Winkler's reaction is like, why? And he's like, I don't know, Henry Winkler. That was but that in the theater might have been the earliest taste of disappointment. Because I was like, what is going on in this movie? I don't understand. Yeah. And we didn't have Popeye's chicken, so I don't know what this is. I don't know why he loves it so much.
That was the first one of his run, because he had a run there.
Yeah.
Like he had, you know, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, The Wedding Singer, The Water Boy, Big Daddy, and then Little Nicky. And everybody's like,
Well, I was like, dude, Adam Sandler's the devil's son who's nice. Home run. That seems like that's a home run premise, you know.
Who plays the devil in that?
Harvey Keitel, isn't it?
Harvey Keitel, yeah.
Oh, shit.
And Rodney Dangerfield plays his dad.
And Kevin Nealon is the assistant or whatever that gets titties on his forehead.
Yeah. So, like, dude, it's great. It's actually a really great movie. Because, like, that was the thing. Like, I was like, is he going to do this fucking stupid voice through the whole movie? Yeah, hey, Popeye's chicken is fucking awesome, you know, and the fucking talking dog that's kind of like just a novelty talking dog, like nothing more, nothing less. But like now I watch it and I'm just I laugh my ass off. And but yeah, I'd vote Billy Madison if we're gonna say best Adam Sandler movie, because Billy Madison not only is the OG, it's the original. But suntan lotion good for me. I mean, like, there are so many things I sing in my head all the time because of Billy Madison. Back to school to prove to Dad that I'm not a fool. I'll tumble for you. It just pops in my head all the time.
And that's we were talking about comedies, and what a simple pitch. You know, where they're just like, hey, Adam Sandler has to go back and redo school. And that's the whole movie. And they're like, okay, write jokes around that. What would he do? Yeah. Okay, he'd probably have to play dodgeball. He's a grown-up. He throws the dodgeball hard as fuck at the kids. Okay, that's the scene. Yeah. Let's do that.
Oh, it's got the puppy who lost his way.
Yeah, you get off your ass and you go find that fucking dog. Yeah, for me, it's between the first two. I think I've said on this podcast before, halfway through Big Daddy is when I start to lose it on Sandler, because that's whenever he's going to be a movie star, so they have to give his character like these redeemable arcs, where he can't just be a jerk. Like at the end he has to learn a lesson and all of this, and I was like, I don't care about the second half of this movie where he's teaching the kid to be nice. Like that's not what I want out of this movie. And so
you're right, it gets a little boring for a little while. It's still good, but it's not funny.
I think Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore, I'd be thrilled with both. I watched Billy Madison probably 100 times, you know.
I've seen Billy Madison a lot less than I've seen Happy Gilmore. I think Happy Gilmore's jokes, some of Happy Gilmore's jokes are unbelievable, but I think you guys have more context than I do, because I think you guys have seen Billy Madison more often than I have. And
I mean, Happy Gilmore has got I ate pieces of shit like you for breakfast and stuff like that. That is great shit. It's got the Bob Barker fight. It's got Chubbs. It's got I mean,
Volkswagen.
Ben Stiller as the male nurse is an underrated part
good,
of that movie too.
Yeah, I gotta love Ben Stiller. And it's got that guy's like Jackass. That's pretty funny.
Hey, rest in peace. He died like a month ago.
But
Shooter
Billy
McGavin.
Madison has fucking you ain't cool unless you pee your pants.
Yeah.
And Norm Macdonald.
Yeah,
it's got Norm Macdonald as his drunk best friend.
That's right.
Yeah. It's got Chris Farley saying that Veronica Vaughn is one hot piece of ace. And it's got that fucking awesome musical number at the end that even brings back the clown that fell earlier in the movie to let you know that clown's okay in the middle of the song.
Listen, I'm gonna concede. We'll go Billy Madison for the Sandler movie, if not only for Norm Macdonald. If you put Norm Macdonald in any of these movies, listen, I'm a sucker. Okay, you put Norm Macdonald on Schindler's List. It's making my list. All right.
That's gonna bring Dirty Work and Screwed up in here.
Yeah. So Sandler will go with Billy Madison.
Okay.
So Farrell. Farrell's an interesting one.
Step Brothers.
See, I thought Step Brothers was good, but a little overrated. I think the performances were absolutely out of this world. Like maybe the literal two best comedic performances in the last 30 years were those two guys in Step Brothers, like playing children. So like, I give them that. I thought some of the jokes were a little tired. I thought it was a little like, I don't know. I didn't think it was as strong as a lot of people thought it was, even though it was very strong. But people put that one in the rafters, and I just don't.
Oh, Talladega Nights.
Yeah, that was the one we were leaning towards with Farrell, was Talladega Nights.
Yeah, I do love that movie. Dusty's shaking his head. Dusty One's shaking his head.
I'm super biased against that movie just for what it is.
Because of where you live?
Yeah. I
Everybody
live with those motherfuckers. I don't find them funny on a day-to-day basis. I don't want to watch movies about them.
I was going to say, is it the same as I recall you having a problem, a block against the Fast and Furious movies because you work on cars. So in your free time, you don't want to see a bunch of dudes racing cars.
Yeah, I don't like to see guys jerking off on their cars. So I don't really dig those movies.
Just so I can bring him in, I need to bring Kevin Smith in here. What about Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Will Ferrell's great in that movie.
Oh wow, I completely forgot he was in that movie.
He's in that movie?
He's the park ranger.
The Wildlife officer.
He's Will and Holly. Yeah, he's the one that he solves the case at the end. You know, like it's a great role.
I liked Farrell better in Austin Powers.
Especially part 2, when he falls down the cliff and he's like, the wound is beginning to smell a little bit like almonds, which is not good.
He's the guy who just won't die. But I think Jay and Silent Bob is it's a worthy mention in this conversation, I would say. I wouldn't put it over a lot of the ones that we're mentioning, but I mean, he was Mugatu in Zoolander.
See, he's done a lot of stuff with people. Like in Old School, he's not the main character, like, and so if you're saying a Will Ferrell movie, you can't think of something like, I don't know, it has to be something like Talladega Nights or even Blades of Glory, or I don't know, Step Brothers is even. Step Brothers is a 2-person movie there. Like I wouldn't. You could call that a John C. Reilly movie just as much as you could call that a Will Ferrell movie. I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
I'd say because Old School, like Frank the Tank's great. The reason that we were leaning Old School is because it's like I said earlier. It's a titty comedy, and that's a comedy. That is an era of comedy that was like ruled the world for a while. It's got the Luke Wilson. It's got Sean William Scott, who I think at least deserves a mention in this whole conversation. Sean William Scott is one of the greatest of all time.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn is really great in that movie.
Yeah.
Everybody gives a really good performance. There's that one kid who's they're talking about why they can't get kicked out of school, and he goes, "I can't get kicked out of school. If I go home, my mom said she'd kill me." And everybody laughs, and he goes, "No, she showed me the knife." Which is like I don't know how many other lines that guy has in that movie, but he kills that one scene. And so my thought in trying to come up with the movies for this was like, what is like not just movie people specific or star specific, but like sort of a trend or an era of something, or like that has a bunch of people in it that represent what comedy was at any particular given moment, in time. So it's like, does old school occupy the same space that the 40-Year-Old Virgin does? Because I think the 40-Year-Old Virgin
or
is a
even
movie,
right, or even Dumb and Dumber. It's not like iconic like those movies, It didn't change the world or nothing. It ain't no Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Now that's
the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life. Oh, there's another one. There's another one that needs to be mentioned in here too that I've watched 100 times, and it's funnier every time I see it. And it's Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. I love that movie.
That is a really funny movie.
So like old school
that was on my list.
Is like, okay,
yeah.
I knew it would be. Old school is like in my garbage can compared to that movie. You know what I'm saying?
See, I've seen both movies. I like Pop Star a lot. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember enjoying the hell out of it. I wouldn't say Old School's in the garbage can compared to it. I think that's a little blasphemous, but I do think that see, even Pop Star is like it's like Hot Rod. Those are both Sandberg movies, but those are non-mainline comedy movies that were made at the time, right? Because you had your Apatow that was sweeping the nation, that took over the fucking comedy world, and was kind of the reason they stopped making these things, is those Apatow movies. And then you had the Feral Vehicles and stuff like that. And then you had stuff like Walk Hard and Pop Star, and these movies that were just fun, original concepts. They seem like they are like kind of on an island. It's not like a continuation of a legacy or anything like that. So yeah, I think those deserve consideration. I don't think I've seen Walk Hard, Pop Star, or Hot Rod enough to really have an opinion as to like comparing them against everything. Because Pop Star and Hot Rod I saw at your house, Jacob, and we were high.
Dusty loves Pop. Dusty, just talk about Pop
the Lonely Island movies. They're on my list. Hot Rod and Pop Star. Multiple watches. You see something different every time. You laugh at a different joke every time. You catch jokes you didn't catch the last time. They just they feel deeper than most comedy movies to me, because they're just I came at my thinking of comedies because, man, Refund Theater fucked me in movies like hard. Like, I don't give a shit anymore. When you messaged me that, I was just like, oh goddamn, what comedies do I like anymore? So I had to come at it from like a angle of what do I bring up a lot? Like, what do I mention a lot? What quotes do I bring up from movies? Which my go-to is comedy stuff. I don't dig horror movies. I like sci-fi and shit like that, but just to pop on and chill the fuck out, it's comedy stuff. So Hot Rod is one of them that I go to all the fucking time. But like, it has to have hit me hard enough that I, like, at least once a day I will say something from one of these fucking movies. And I have a list. There's not just a whole bunch on it, but a lot of them we did for Refund Theater, which kind of threw me off.
What about Night Killer on it?
Yeah, now it is. It's not on this list, I
got molested in the little boy's room.
Yeah, like if we were just going for funniest movie of all time in my book, Fateful Findings would be on this thing. But I didn't throw in any Neil Breen movies or any of that kind of shit. Like, that shit is infinitely funny. But I tried to keep it basic comedy kind of shit. Son-in-law's on there.
Intentionally funny.
Yeah, Son-in-law's on there, which when we did the show, that's the go-to at this house.
That's a good call. I'm right. I'm Son-in-law's going right on the
immediately
on the list.
That's over. Get rid of Will Ferrell and just put that
in. Dusty too. How do you feel about Son-in-Law?
I remember the first time I saw Son-in-Law, it was like I felt like it was a little like dangerous because I was a little kid, so I was like 9 or 10, and I didn't watch anything like this, and we were at somebody else's house, and it was like me and my mom, but my mom was laughing at this movie because like it's a bunch of like insane people in this movie, like how do you not? I've rewatched it a few times. I haven't seen it recently, but I remember really liking Son-in-Law. I think that there is a thought to put in something like Jacob or Dusty One were saying, like something that represents an alternative to whatever the mainline thing was. We've got mainline covered pretty well, even if like Tropic Thunder is kind of weird just because of some of the stuff in it. Like that's a big movie. It has movie stars in it. It made over $100 million. It wasn't somebody's odd idea. Like Dewey Cox is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life, and it's so funny that the earnest Johnny Cash biopic, which is amazing, comes out, and then they make a movie that not only makes fun of the fact that his brother died, but essentially makes fun of his whole life. Is like it, and is so good, and the jokes are so good in it. I don't know how far back we're going. I did think about it. We didn't bring up Spinal Tap, which if we're talking about a movie that I quote the most, Spinal Tap might be the one that I quote the most, but it could also be like Jacob said, it's a different kind of thing because it's a pretend, it's a mockumentary sort of.
Well, but that's what Dewey Cox Dewey Cox didn't quite. Well, it's kind of a mock biography, but it's more of a spoof of Walk Hard and movies like that.
Yeah. The tragic biopic movie, but as a comedy,
Popstar is a documentary. Like the whole thing's filmed by camera people that are in the room with the people and stuff like that. Like what we do in the shadows and shit. So yeah, you're right. I don't know, but no, because that's the art. That is the art.
Right.
They're. You know what's funnier than Spinal Tap? The fucking DVD of Spinal Tap with the commentary done by the members of Spinal Tap in character.
And Jacob, I told you about the commentary for Tropic Thunder where Robert Downey Jr. won't break character. Jack Black shows up late with In and Out, and Ben Stiller is so mad that he can't seriously talk about this movie that he made. He's like, see this shot right here. This costs like $2 million. And Robert Downey Jr., it's a part where he shoots his guns. He's like, go look at that fucking bacall. Dude, it's hilarious. And then as soon as he turns back to the Australian guy, he turns back into the Australian guy in the commentary. But you know what's funnier than Spinal Tap? Some kind of monster. some kind of monster might be the funniest movie ever made.
Metallica's Some Kind of Monster? That is absolutely one of the funniest movies ever made.
Now, a 3-hour rewatchable comedy. There is nothing more rewatchable than Some Kind of Monster. So once a year, I'll just be like, oh shit, it's Some Kind of Monster time.
I'll just turn it on and I'm hooked. Yeah. I'm done. Like it's one of the and I will say right now, like that and the Osbournes were the two things that broke the veil of rock stars. Like we all thought fucking James Hetfield just sat on a throne and practiced guitar until it was time to go out again. We didn't realize he was a fucking abusive, negligent alcoholic that controlled his entire band so much that one of them left. And then he's like, what happened? And they're like, you happened. And fucking Lars Ulrich.
I just think it's kind of stalk.
It's one of my favorite people in the world, and partly because of that movie. Because like I just think you control things. You just control things with the way with your absence. You control things when you're here. I just keep walking around saying "fuck."
if you want to leave at 4, we all have to stop at 4 when you want to leave. What if I want to play something? Like, oh man,
what if I want to listen to something we did at 4:15? That's just not fair.
They take their break, and he goes and hangs out with his Gandalf ass dad.
Dude, oh god, his dad. One of the funniest comedy scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
Is when Lars Ulrich is in the studio with his fucking dad, and he's like, I played everything for Dad. I gotta run it through Dad because he's smart and he knows everything. And then he fucking plays this intro that they recorded for the beginning of the album that did not make the album. It's like one of the worst things you ever heard. It's like this weird instrumental, and then you hear James in the background going, and then like he gets done, and he looks at his dad, and he goes, "What do you think?" And Torben, his dad, goes, "I would, if you were to ask me, I would say to delete that one." and then he said, Lars goes, "Oh well, Q Prime said that we should open the record with it." And he goes, "Yes, well, they may have, but I would say, yes, you would delete that one. Unless it just sounds like someone shouting in a cave. It just doesn't do anything for me." It's fucking like Lars's face, like,
yeah. For people listening who haven't seen this and don't know what it is, Some Kind of Monster is a documentary about the band Metallica, who became one of the biggest bands in the world and then turned into a dysfunctional crybaby mess.
And see, the album came out before the movie, and so we were all like, why does this sound like this? And then like 6 months later, we see the movie, and we're like, oh. And then you listen to the album, and you're like, oh, okay, I get why this sounds like this.
My favorite, like Dusty said, when you go back and you rewatch movies and you catch jokes and you catch things that you never saw the first time. My favorite thing in Some Kind of Monster is when they're signing Robert Trujillo to the band and they're breaking down all of the like things, and they're like, okay, now, well, like, and they're like, we want him to be fully in the band. So like, let's not play some bullshit or whatever. You're in the band. A quarter of everything is to you, except this movie. You don't hold any responsibility for how well this movie does. And watching that, I must have been like, when Robert saw this come out, he must have been like, fuck, I am so glad that I didn't have any financial stake in this goddamn movie where everyone looks terrible except for him. And partially Kurt Hammond.
He didn't play on St. Anger.
Yeah, he didn't play on St. Anger. He just got to go. He just got to rake in bank on the worldwide tour. Fantastic.
Dude, they're better than ever, if you ask me, since he's been in the. Not that they write as good of music as they did in their 20s, but I'm just saying, like, as a band, like as a live band, they're so fucking good these days, and their albums are good. You know, like they've had 3 good albums with Robert Trujillo. So kudos.
I just remembered them having to break up with their therapist because he thought he was in the band.
Oh my god, that guy! That guy fucking
thought he was gonna go on the road with them.
Dude, the earnest
handing them lyrics, like
the earnest conversation they had where they're like, we feel like he thinks he's in the band now, and we need to make it very clear that he's not in the band. Like one of my favorite things. Yeah, before you watch any of the movies that we end up picking for this thing, if you haven't seen Some Kind of Monster, I might throw that on. I might throw that on this very evening. So
my lifestyle determines my death style.
My only other thought was, and I just had to bring it in, because it'd be a big elephant in the room if not. Holy Grail. Where do we fall on the all-timeness of Holy Grail?
I'm gonna tell you a quick story. Oh, I just keep taking over. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Real quick. I think it's worthy. 100%. I think it's worthy. I might like Life of Brian more.
Life of Brian's good.
Like, I am less familiar with Life of Brian or Meaning of Life. I know.
Dusty, I know you have a history with Jesus. I know that, but
yeah,
we need to watch Life of Brian. Dusty too, definitely.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
You're
determined that
you're unfamiliar with Jesus, Dusty One.
No, I'm very familiar with Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's why I was
familiar
like,
with
that was too vague and Dusty to be pointed that
I'm aware of Jesus.
He's familiar with Jesus, just like Cain was familiar with Abel. But it's funny that we determined that Dusty Godwin is Dusty 2, but people watching on the YouTube are going to see Dusty 2 on Dusty Strickland's screen. But
he Dusty 2'd himself, which is really a Dusty 1 move. That's an alpha move.
He's the humblest Dusty.
Yeah. Well, the meek shall inherit the dusty, as was quoted in Galatians.
I think if we're going a Monty Python movie, it has to be Holy Grail. Even though personally I might enjoy Life of Brian more. I'm being repressed is unbelievable. This is the violence inherent in the system.
The fucking bunny scene.
Yeah.
I've never laughed at anything that hard before I saw that. My cheeks hurt so bad at the end. And that's a funny thing, too, because I had a buddy that was like, you got to see Holy Grail. It's totally up your alley. You'd love it. And I was like, okay. And then so we sat down and watched it. And through the whole movie, I'm like, yeah, this is funny. But nothing's really cracking me up. And then they start talking about this monster in this cave, like it's going to be this gigantic thing. And then it's a fucking little rabbit. And I'm like, oh, that's really cute. And when that thing jumped on that guy's face and blood started spewing everywhere, I didn't see that coming. And it got me. It got me real good. So, I mean, like, I wouldn't put that on any kind of list of mine just because that one scene. But I definitely say that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Well, like, as comedy nerds, like the joke writing of that scene with the rabbit, where he's leading it up and they just won't listen to him, and he's going, it can jump about, yay, it's got teeth, look at the bones.
Look at the bones. Yeah, he settles on just look at the bones, because there's bones all over the place.
He's completely exacerbated, and it just keeps escalating to this, like, he's begging this guy, and then, like you said, the rabbit jumps on the dude and a geyser of blood squirts out of this guy's neck. Like the setup to the payoff of that one joke is incredible. I don't know that it goes on the all-timer list, but I felt like it had to be mentioned because it does, like, it is one of those things where somebody's like, oh, you haven't seen Holy Grail, you have to sit down and watch this. And it determines whether you're like a weird comedy person or maybe not such a weird comedy person, you know.
It really is like an all-time like comedy staple, right? Like anybody who enjoys comedy needs to at least give it a shot. Not everybody's gonna like it, and that's okay. Like it's not one of those movies. If I meet somebody who says Dumb and Dumber isn't funny, then I start to question their sense of humor in general, right? It's like I think Dumb and Dumber is like simply funny. Like there's a joke for everybody in that movie. There's probably multiple jokes for everybody in that movie. Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a special type of movie. There's a lot of funny people who probably won't like that movie. Dusty Strickland, what do you think of Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
All the Monty Python shit come to me too late in life. Like it's funny.
Okay, yeah.
It's funny, but I don't hold it in super high regard.
It's not in the rafters for you.
It's like trying to read Catcher in the Rye, right?
Yeah.
if it didn't hit you at the right moment.
Whichever one of theirs is more like the sketch comedy show where they do like the Dead Parrot.
Flying Circus.
Yeah, the Flying Circus one is the one that I've seen the most and thought was the funniest.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid who loved comedy so much, I was watching old like Red Skelton and Laurel and Hardy and Abbott and Costello shit, and then when I watched Monty Python at like the worst time when I was like 12, and I thought it was cool. So like I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched parts of it. I didn't really get it, and then I got a little bit older and I started getting I started understanding a little bit more of why these ridiculous things are funny. And it really got me. Like I said, Life of Brian might be. I think I like the story of Life of Brian more, but the Holy Grail has the jokes are just so good. And people have driven it's just a flesh wound into the ground, like they've ruined that joke. But that scene is very, very great. I put Monty Python on the Holy Grail on the consideration list because I think it deserves to be. But I don't think it's going to make it. I don't think it's going to be the one. I just put it on the list.
And Dusty,
like the list is some sort of honor.
Dusty One, you said you had a couple of others that you might have on the list of considerations.
Well, I will just read you this little handy list I made here that we've already mentioned most of. I have Pop Star, Hot Rod, Fear of a Black Hat is my go-to.
Fear of a Black Hat was good.
Mockumentary, and hardly anybody's seen it. So
I'm black, y'all, because I'm black, y'all. Isn't that movie?
Blackity black and I'm black, y'all.
Yeah, that is that movie. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, we watched it for the show, didn't we?
Yeah, that's the time I watched it.
Yeah. Son-in-Law, Don't Be a Menace is on there. Half Baked, Pineapple Express, What We Do in the Shadows. My Stifler movie is Role Models. Like, I find that movie infinitely hilarious. I've got Hot Fuzz on there. Like, it's one I probably go to the most, but it's not specifically a comedy. I
never saw that.
Really? Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, I heard it's good.
Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead are two of the most hilarious movies I've seen, but they're also not comedies. They're more of whatever genre. Like, Hot Fuzz is more of a thriller, and Shaun of the Dead is more of a horror, but they are fucking hilarious. And that's What We Do in the Shadows is on there. I quote it quite a bit. Did I say Pineapple Express?
Anybody going to mention Friday up in here?
I just wrote it down. As his list reminded me of Friday. Yeah. I think Friday definitely deserves mention. I like your list. There's a lot that is Fear of a Black Hat. Does it have? Is it this? There's a scene where like the stunt double's a man with a mustache, right? It's like his mom is fighting somebody.
Yeah, he's filming an Ice-T-ish type cop movie where he saves a baby in a carriage. Yeah.
What that happens in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker too, which is also a very hilarious movie.
Yeah. I have never seen Fear of a Black Hat. I know you guys did it for the show. I think I'd probably listened to the episode, but I've never seen it.
Oh man,
it was really good.
You got to get that in your head.
Okay,
it's Rusty Cundiff who directed and produced most of the Dave Chappelle show. Like he is a very funny. The only other thing I've really seen him in is Tales from the Hood. If you remember Tales from the Hood at all, I think it was like the third story that was told. There was a kid that could draw stuff, and then like he'd like crumple the paper up. A kid was bullying him at school, and he drew the kid on a piece of paper and crumpled it up, and like the kid ended up breaking all his arms and legs. And Rusty Cundiff was the principal that comes to the house that ends up, I think he cooks him in the oven or something, like burns the paper or something like that. I don't remember, but he's hilarious. And the Fear of a Black Hat was just, if you liked hip hop, if you liked any of that stuff back in the 90s, that movie right there just hits them all in the sweet spot, making fun of them.
Yeah. The joke writing in that movie was so good, and the I can't say that I can tell. Like I couldn't tell when I was watching, but now that you say it, like I can see the line from that to Chappelle.
Yeah,
like the conscious kind of smart race comedy.
Yeah,
it's just unbelievable. So I think Fear of a Black Hat definitely deserves some recognition here. But
you remember the part where they're sitting in the room with the record producer, and he starts talking about their specific colors. He calls one of them a high yellow piss complected motherfucker, and he calls another one a black stovepipe motherfucker. And he's just go through all that shit. Man, just everything in that movie's hilarious. And the Taste Tea is the one that's the hardest of the hardcore of them, where he's like, because Nina Blackburn is the chick that's like running the documentary, and she's the joke that I liked at the front of it when she says, and they say it's the quiet ones that you have to worry about, and he goes, yeah, and if you ain't noticed, I ain't said shit in a couple minutes now.
Yeah, it's based around a rap group called NWH.
Guys with hats.
Guys with hats.
Hey,
oh yeah, like we can't do that one now. We can't tell any of the jokes in that movie.
No.
we
never
had a
should
guy that could, but like you can't do that now.
Yeah, we used to. Yeah, the guy that we had that we could lean on to joke, he died. So we gotta keep going.
Hey, I would like to give an honorable mention, since I know they're not going to end up on the main list. I would like to give an honorable mention to UHF, and that movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It also, just like Popstar, every time I see it, I see something new. I love that movie. And also, I know me and Dusty share some love for the Police Academy movies, at least a couple of them. But Police Academy 2 being my favorite. But yeah, man,
Go ahead.
I just know nobody's gonna be like, yes, Police Academy 2 does deserve to go up against them. So,
I won't even say it deserves to be on any list. Like they're funny, but they aren't on the list.
I haven't seen any of the Police Academy movies, but I truly do believe UHF deserves consideration.
I forgot about it. So yeah, I agree. UHF is top notch.
Take that ridiculous thing off, and you think it's going to be the hat, and he takes his mustache off.
That's one of the best.
He's one of the greatest jokes in the history of movies.
Just this bad.
I will stop a room full of people to point that out if it's playing in the room. I'll be like, everybody watch! And take that ridiculous thing off.
And he's like so sad, and he takes his mustache off. Supplies is just an all-time joke. A Twinkie Wiener sandwich. There's just I don't.
Where he goes, hey George, what's wrong? Stanley, you don't want to know. Oh, why'd I ask?
yeah. The homeless guy asking everybody if they've got change. And the guy finally is like, yes, and holds out his hand. He goes, 75, 85, $1, and puts $1 in his hand.
That's so fucking hilarious. You just need a change for $1.
Oh man, it almost makes me want to pick UHF just so we can make Kai watch it. because I'd be very curious what a girl who's never seen UHF would think of UHF.
It's got Fran Drescher in it. It's got what's her name? Who plays his girlfriend? I forget what her name is right now. She turned into a Trumper.
Oh yeah,
Victoria
she's
Jackson
from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, Victoria Jackson. That's her name.
Victoria Jackson. That's who it was. Yeah.
Got a little
piece.
Yeah, she died too. That son of a bitch.
Did you guys ever watch the Weird Al, the Daniel Radcliffe movie?
Oh yeah,
that you could only watch on Roku TV.
Yeah, it's on DVD now. They have it on disc now, so you don't have to watch the ads. But brilliant, I must say.
It's so good. Really funny.
Really funny. I was like, how are they gonna do this and it not be stupid? And I'm like, it's not only stupid, but it's the best kind of stupid, and that's why I love it.
Well, and it's so smart to not. Exactly. It's like you're to subvert the biopic and make it this weird, insane thing. Is it's like a Weird Al song. Like I was listening to The Day Santa Went Crazy the other day, and I was like, man, this song is real. Like this song is really twisted for a dude that you don't think of as writing. Like, I guess he writes subversive stuff, but it's like that to the amount of murder that takes place in that and Albuquerque and even like Trigger Happy. It's like it's underlying like darkness underneath all this like weird spoof stuff that he does. But yeah, I thought that movie was great.
One more minute.
I read an article about how Weird Al is problematic because he normalizes white male violence, and it was written in earnest. The person was being honest when they wrote this, and I almost I wanted to quit the internet for the rest of my life. But
I saw my neighbor carrying a couch up the stairs, and I said, "Hey, do you want a hand?" He said, "No, I want you to cut my arms and legs off with a chainsaw." So I did. I'm dating a girl, and she drove through Albuquerque the other day, and I told her I was like, "You got to listen to this song," and she was like, "I made it through like 4 minutes of it."
I used to sing The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota to torture my kids. Like, if they were complaining about what was on the radio or whatever, I just turned that on because it's like 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
And
on y'all's last episode when y'all were talking about the Rolling Stones and you were like, what's this song, the Brown Sugar song? All I thought about was the Hot Rocks Polka. Because it was like, I knew which song it was because of that song, not because I listened to the Rolling Stones, but because I listened to the polka version of all of those songs.
I didn't realize the lyrics I was singing for all those times. Recently, I saw a TikTok where somebody broke down those lyrics. That song is about slavers doing it with their slaves. If you read it,
Brown Sugar?
Yes, go read the lyrics to Brown Sugar. Read them out loud.
Yeah.
Did we read the lyrics on the?
No. We were talking about Beast of Burden, which also is sneaky about having sex.
About sex, yeah.
Go for it. I'm serious. You're gonna have a moment here where your jaw's gonna drop.
I'm more interested to know. I didn't know the specifics, perhaps, of what Brown Sugar was about, but I think I felt like I knew what he was getting at. I'm interested, Andrew, to figure out what you thought he was singing about. Because
Brown Sugar?
Yeah, he's not that subtle.
I don't listen to the fucking words of that song.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody does.
It's a bop, dude. Who cares about the words?
Read the words. Read the words.
Gold Coast slave ship bound for cotton fields, sold in the market down in New. I mean, this is pretty definitive.
Yeah.
So sold in the market down in New Orleans. Scarred old slaver know he's doing all right. Hear him whip the women just around midnight. Brown Sugar. How come you taste so good?
Tastes so good.
Holy shit!
Yeah. They're playing that. They're playing that tomorrow night at SoFi Stadium.
Read the second.
Drums beating, cold English blood runs hot. Lady of the house wondering when it's gonna stop. Oh my God! Houseboy knows that he's doing all right. You should have heard him just around midnight. Who wrote this song?
Fucking
Mick Jagger wrote this song. Yeah. Or Keith Richards. Bill Wyman's probably in there. They're all
written primarily by Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they thinking?
Because there was something to do with back in the day, like if you. Oh God, what was it? No, I don't want to get into this stuff. But no,
yeah, I feel like you're walking a treacherous path, my friend.
Yeah. I don't want to get into this stuff. But no, there was a thing about slavers, you know.
If you thought RDJ and Tropic Thunder was
right
tough, you don't want to trudge that road for sure.
Mick Jagger wrote a song about a thing that's been going on for a very long time, or that was going on for a very long time. It was
Jagger attributed the success of the song to a good groove. After noting that the lyrics could mean so many lewd subjects, he again noted that the combination of those subjects, the lyrical ambiguity, was partially why the song was considered successful. He noted that makes it the whole mess thrown in. God knows what I'm on about in that song. It's just such a mishmash. All the nasty subjects in one go. I never would write that song now.
But I'll perform it every single night.
Listen, it's a bop.
Yeah.
I think those lyrics were pretty straightforward. I don't think there was much wiggle room.
Yeah, what's that?
Who knows what I was on about in that song?
Yeah, the lyrical ambiguity.
What he was on about in that song.
It's called "This Song's About Sex with Slaves." Who knows?
Yeah. Well, he was. A lot of that sounded like code for "I was real high when I wrote this song."
Yeah.
And so now
real high on racism.
Yeah. Turns out guy from a British garage band, racist? Never.
He's a colonist.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Listen, he's not saying they're bad.
Yeah.
He's saying that he wants to have sex with them. I mean,
That's a good time.
That's a compliment. He's not saying ew, you know?
Okay.
It's not called ew.
Yeah.
Man,
it's not called brown vinegar. It's called brown sugar.
Guys, I know yet another, like, none of these movies are going to make it, but those first 4 Ernest movies are like...
Ernest Goes to Jail.
Ernest Goes to Jail is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
If we were picking movies that had a personal touchstone in my young life, Ernest Goes, or any of the Ernest movies make that list. Just like I've started recently rewatching all the Bond movies because growing up, my mom loved watching James Bond movies, and my wife hasn't seen like a ton of them, so we just started watching them, and she's like, all of these are kind of the same, right? And I was like, yeah, but that's why they're great, is because like you can leave for a while, you can fall asleep, you wake up, you can really piece the plot together pretty quick. All right, which dude is Bond? All right, that guy's clearly bad, he's after money or gold, or he wants to build a weapon or something. Like, it's pretty quick. Same thing with Ernest. It's like, where'd they find Ernest? Oh, he's at school. Okay. Oh, he went to jail. All right. Oh, he was scared stupid. I need to figure out what happened with that. Yeah.
I sure hope they didn't make an African one.
Yeah, then he went to Africa, and from what I read, the plane crashed and Ernest died in Africa.
Yeah, so, Ernest, rest in peace, Ernest.
Ernest P. Worrell. Yeah, I guess so. R.I.P. in Africa. He has a tiki He has a tiki mask in the VHS cover of that movie.
It was a different time.
I understand. I'm just saying.
It really, I mean, like, man,
Jim Barney. Well,
we were so ignorant.
If we're honorably mentioning stuff, Naked Gun, all the Naked Gun movies.
Now
deserve
all those movies are dead because of OJ to me. I can't watch it.
Yeah,
I literally cannot watch OJ in those movies. Wait, he's in them a lot.
OJ Simpson, the football player?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened?
You know, Orenthal James Simpson, famed football player.
One of the greatest running backs of all time. What do you do?
Ran for 2,000.
Happened?
Ran for 2,000 yards in a season.
He wrote a book. People didn't care much for it.
So did Jesus.
And he made a reality show that was not well received.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw his prank show.
Yeah.
You've been juiced. What's wrong with OJ?
Oh, there was also something about sports memorabilia.
Oh yeah, I forgot. That was blown out of proportion.
Yeah, it was. You know, it was just an armed robbery. Who gives a fuck, right? You know,
I watched Made in America again the other day.
Dude, it's so good. It's like some kind of monster.
Yeah. Andrew and I talked about.
What it should have been called.
Andrew and I talked about, like, I don't even watch the first two halves of Made in America. I don't give a shit about OJ when he was just a famous football player / whatever. No. Yeah, start with the murder. Watch those two.
Recently, some footage came out that I saw of like OJ getting out of the car when he gets back from the airport. So Robert Kardashian and who was the female lawyer? What's her name? Marsha
Clark. Was the prosecutor.
All right, so Marsha Clark and Robert Kardashian are standing together, and OJ like gets out of the car, and in all the commotion, he drops a leather bag on the ground on the sidewalk, and nobody sees it. And then Robert Kardashian and Marsha Clark start inching their way towards it, and then they go over and like put their legs against it and just start having a conversation, like shoulder to shoulder. And he's just pretty much telling her, he's like, we gotta fucking make sure the cops don't notice this fucking bag. That's probably what he's saying, because like all these cops are just, everybody's looking at OJ. Everybody's looking at OJ. And then like when you see the cops kind of clear out, they pick up the bag and fucking walk away with it, dude. Like,
so Jacob, did your headphones just turn off? Did his mic change to everybody?
Yeah, it changed for me. Yeah,
I heard you. Yeah, I heard you and understood you, but it was the people listening are going to be losing their shit.
Oh, look at this backup AirPods.
Look at this guy. There he is. It probably wasn't Marsha Clark, because Marsha Clark was the prosecuting attorney, so she wouldn't have been hiding shit.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't, but it was. It was Robert Kardashian and somebody else.
A girl.
And yeah,
it was.
It's
Kim.
so
Kris
fucking
Jenner.
funny though, because like he is obviously just like OJ probably called him beforehand. Was like, I'm gonna drop the bag on the sidewalk, and you guys just So
it's very important to all of us that you get rid of this bag.
Well, it's like, I don't know if anybody else on this podcast would know, but there's another famous football player, Ray Lewis, who was charged with murder at the 1999 Super Bowl, and he was wearing an all white outfit, and he apparently got involved in something, and that's the smoking gun. and they never found that white suit wherever that was. And that's why he essentially got acquitted of this murder. But they're like, nobody knows what happened to that white suit. So he must have had a bag man or something doing the exact same thing where it's like, well, prove it.
Yeah.
You gotta have a bag man.
Yeah.
I've got fixtures all over the place.
The bag man is important. Yeah, I don't know that anything else. I think we walked around it, and I would like for people to be outraged. So we do have to mention Dirty Work, a movie Andrew has never seen, in spite of his love of Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
Have you seen Scrooge?
Norm Macdonald's no, and I think Norm Macdonald's the funniest man who ever lived. He's like my comedy hero. And
oh my god,
I forgot about Scrooge. That's a
really Scrooge's good.
Dude, both of them. And Scrooge has Dave Chappelle in it.
Yeah, and
who?
Chappelle
and Scrooge.
Oh shit!
And Danny DeVito before he got famous again for being weird and It's Always Sunny. He's very weird in Scrooge.
Yeah. Like, he's almost as weird as Frank got.
Yeah.
maybe it's worse. Adam Sandler's in. He would be in Dirty Work because Norm and Artie take a job as testing food or something, and they ate brownies, and like Artie's just having a fine time, and then it shows Norm, and he's just like, and he's having this hallucination of the devil. I don't remember what he's doing in it, but Adam Sandler's uncredited in it as the devil.
I love the dead hooker scene in Dirty Work. That's
I've never seen so many dead hookers in my life. Lord knows I have. That's a great piece of writing.
Artie Lang is one of the funniest people to ever live as well. He's got no nose left. Have you guys seen Artie Lang?
Oh
lately?
yeah.
no.
His nose collapsed because he snorted his body weight in cocaine over his lifetime, and at one point he was with I think it was a hooker in a hotel. And she broke a salt shaker, and he snorted a line of glass, and it just completely destroyed the inside of his nose. But one of the funniest guys ever. Yeah, no, Artie Lang. He's very funny. Him and Norm on Stern were some of the funniest things you can find on the internet.
I think as a separate episode, we should do a first time reaction to Andrew watching Dirty Work. If you gentlemen would be up for that.
Didn't Bob Saget write that movie?
Yeah, and directed it. Well, no, I don't know that he wrote it. He directed it.
I was not aware of that.
He's
actually dead.
Bob Saget. We miss you.
So I guess
he's actually dead.
I guess it's Mike Myers time.
Mike Myers time. So I think Mike Myers is between Austin Powers and Wayne's World. Are there any other things to enter into the Mike Myers? I mean, So I Married an Axe Murderer is great, but I don't think it matters.
The problem with Austin
Powers, I quote
Powers
it more than I do the other ones.
Really?
So I Married an Axe Murderer is pretty funny.
Yeah,
it's a staple in this house, man. I think it's a staple in Andrew's house as well.
Yeah. She stole my heart and
well,
my
what I was going to say
cat.
is Wayne's World and Austin Powers both suffer from the same problem. All of them are good, so I can't really pick like Austin Powers 2 to me is funnier than part 1, but Austin Powers 3 has like Goldmember, which is like one of the funniest things in the fucking world. And then like Wayne's World is a really great funny movie, but Wayne's World 2 is fucking hilarious because it's got Del Preston and Garth gets cute. And Wayne's World 2 was one of those where the first time I saw it, I was like, I don't know if I even like that movie. But the more I watch it, I like it better than the first one.
Yeah, I like it. I don't think I like it.
I can't even say why.
The shitty Beatles.
The first one is a fucking masterpiece. It really is. But the second one has this fucking just that little. It's like they turned the realistic knob down just a hair. You know what I mean? And it's just got that little bit. It's like a little bit more magical shit happens in that movie. Just
when he's like, I feel
that
like
guy,
I feel like we can get a better
like
actor to
shit
play
like that.
this. And it's
That's
Charlton
fucking
Heston.
hilarious. Like
that's a great bit.
Gordon
That's
Street.
A great bit.
And I quote that dude that we have. I pass Gordon Street in our town all the time, and every time Gordon Street. I once knew a girl who lived on Gordon Street. That was a long time ago. When I was young.
I was trying to talk to Andrew last week about, I can't remember if Austin Powers 2 is like on weight funnier than Austin Powers 1. I feel like I ended up seeing Austin Powers 2 way more times because it was like a big deal. Because Austin Powers 1 is like
it just came out of nowhere.
Movie.
I'm sure you remember the first time you saw it. You're like, what is this going to be? And then you watch it, you're like, this is fucking great.
Yeah, well, and having watched a million James Bond
back to
movies,
James Bond,
or watched James Bond a million times, I was like, oh, okay, this is clearly what they're doing. And then, but I watched the second one a lot more because I was at the age where like I bought it on VHS so I could just watch it whenever, and it like still has a ton of great jokes in it. But I don't know. It feels like Austin Powers 1 is more like important as far as like what it did as a movie. I don't know that it's the funny, and it's also
Austin Powers
really
2 was my first DVD, so I've got mad nostalgia for it because I watched it 100 times because it was my first DVD. Yeah. But it's got Mini-Me. It's got it one-ups a lot of the jokes from the first one. And it's got one of my favorite Dr. Evil lines of all time. When Dr. Evil has the space suit on and Austin Powers shoots him in the leg or whatever. And then like he's going, but you can't hear him. And then he flips a little switch and he's like, ow, you shot me, you a-hole. Like that really fucking gets me. And I love Austin Powers too. And it's got Heather Graham, which is like, she's the hottest, one of the hottest people of that time. And she's really hot in that movie.
Yeah. She really is. And but we were talking about last week, and I'm going to rehash this. Austin Powers 3 has well, first of all, I think Fat
Bastard's in part 2,
but he's in the second.
And in fact, Fat Bastard's better in part 2 than in part 3. He's just making the same jokes he did in part 2.
Well, in part 3 has lower the globe, and the globe lands on his head, and then lower the meteor, and the meteor comes and hits him in the nuts, and he's walking around going, no way, no
also,
way.
Part 3 has wait, I have to do this. How about no? Crazy Dutch bastard. That fucking scene. And part 3 and the Hard Knock Life scene, which is just fantastic, but
I don't speak freaky. I don't speak
freaky.
Dutch.
Yeah, dude. Part 2 and 3, they tie to me.
Which one has the old man in it? What's his name?
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
That's part 3.
Where he's like, the fucking Dutch.
Okay, so if you're going by, and this isn't definitive, obviously, but if you're going by IMDb critic score, the critics are not going to be fair and kind to fucking Austin Powers, but number 1 has a 73% fresh. Numbers 2 and 3 are at 53% each with the critics on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm not saying that's why we should make our decision. We should make it on our opinions. Right. The only one that I've seen recently is number 1, and it was hilarious. But we're saying a lot of jokes that are great from the second 2 movies.
I tend to go with Jacob. I think the second movie's better.
Okay.
I think, but I haven't watched any of them in a long time.
Well, one doesn't have mini-me, right?
One does not have mini-me, right?
We got to have mini-me.
Send in the clouds.
Well,
send in the clouds.
Dude, part 2 also has some really great Scott Evil shit, and it starts with that Jerry Springer episode. And dude, it's just like really, dude, that whole movie, and him and Frau Farbissina hooking up and stuff because he drinks Austin Powers Mojo. And like that dude, Dr. Evil, like that's
right. The second movie they're trying to steal his mojo. I forgot what the plot of
Dr.
the second
Evil's
movie is.
like that. And Dr. Evil's a funnier character than Austin Powers, if you ask me. And I really love him in part 2 because like he's just deadly funny. But yeah, even that scene where they're him and Heather Graham are in the Austin Powers and Heather Graham are in the tent, and he's bent over and she looks. The guards are watching it. It looks like she keeps pulling things out of his ass,
pulling things out of his ass.
But which is a play on the same scene from the first one. It was the shadow. Well, and then they even did the mini-me shadow. Also, that was in part 3. Dude, man, like that's a trilogy, man. But yeah, to me, Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, is the Empire Strikes Back of that trilogy.
The Mini-Me shadow is great because it looks like he gives birth to Mini-Me. Mini-Me falls out, and he's got the cord, and he bites the cord.
It's fucking hilarious. It's so good.
I wanted to shout out Dusty One's Hot Rod nomination because the thing, if we're talking about quotability, a thing I quote all the time is Danny McBride steals. In one scene, he steals that entire movie from me whenever Rod is doing his luge stunt, and he ends up running into the side of this guy's camper van, and the guy comes out to hassle him, and Danny McBride just starts beating the shit out of this dude, and he goes, you gonna bring the demons out of me? I've been drinking deep green tea all goddamn day. I'm jacked. And he's, I go to church every Sunday, and he's hitting him with a trash can. Oh yeah, he's hitting him with the trash can, and then when the dude's on the ground, he flips it over and pours it on him, and he just yells "trash" as he pours trash on him, and he steals his hat. That might be the first time I'd seen Danny McBride because I think it was. That was before Pineapple Express, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
My first Danny McBride was Pineapple Express.
The Foot Fist Way.
The Foot Fist Way. Yeah.
That also has a really funny.
Before Hot Rod, I found it after Hot Rod, but yeah,
that's a really funny movie too. Where there's a scene in that movie where Danny McBride's supposed to be like a karate instructor or something. And there's a part where there's like a 12-year-old girl that's up against this dude, and he's like, "Don't take it easy on her," and he just full on roundhouse kicks this little girl in the face and knocks her out. He goes, "Oh, she's dead." That's a very funny movie. Yeah. So that was like in the prime video store time when I used to work at my video store, and we would just get the weirdest shit that would come in, and I'd just like, okay, I'll watch it's free, so I'll watch it. Oh man, there's a movie called Gentleman Broncos.
I love that movie.
Which has,
oh my god,
yes, yeah. They stole my nads, Dennis. That's one of them. Yeah.
That's a good movie about that song at the movie.
That's a good movie about making a movie too. Yeah, that's with the guy from Flight of the Conchords in it. Like that guy is hilarious in that movie. Jermaine. Yeah. But that was just
the only thing I remember from that movie is Moonbuggy.
Moonbuggy. Cyclops there. Cyclops there.
They stole my nads, Dennis, is one of my favorite.
The life-giving colostrum.
I want to give a quick shout out. This movie's not going to be on anybody's list, but there's a reason that I'm bringing it up, and we bring it up on the podcast. I've done it multiple times. Master of Disguise. The reason that I'm bringing this up, okay? Listen to me. Jacob, you're going to laugh at what I say here. This is the funniest thing about that movie, and Dusty already knows what I'm about to say. Dana Carvey was wearing that the turtle costume when he found out 9/11 happened.
Yeah, I always thought there was an ominous feeling to that scene, and now I know that when he was acting, saying turtle, they were like literally in the middle of that shit.
That's the funniest thing.
What am I not turtly enough for the turtle? What's that?
Yeah,
both towers. Both of them.
Oh, these
my
are
God.
Yeah.
I like to imagine that it's, that really famous picture of George Bush where he's reading that book and that guy's in his ear telling him about it. I like to imagine the same exact thing happened to Dana Carvey. Like there's a piece.
He's sitting at craft services, but he can't sit in the chair right, so he's like sitting all weird.
Some unfortunate PA had to walk over to him and tell him about 9/11.
I wish like you could mention a fucking president, and I think something like great, you know. I'm like sitting there like, yeah, George W. Bush. No, like the second he said George W. Bush, his voice came into my head, and he said, "Where wings take dream."
I can't. If they had made I mean, I don't know if this premise would have lasted for 90 minutes, but if they had made the Will Ferrell George Bush movie, that might make because
I would have killed myself and everybody else in that theater.
That's
that impression is good in 3 minutes.
That's what I mean. Is I think it's smart they didn't do it, but I will never forget. When I think of George W. Bush, I think of Will Ferrell going, it's the axis of evil. It's Iraq, Iran, and one of them Koreas. And he's like, and I don't like Dick Cheney. He's sneaky, not to mention scary. Wherever I am, he's not. And so that, like...
didn't he add reading to the axis of evil?
He probably did. I don't remember that part.
I think he
of
had,
it.
or math.
Oh, math.
Or
it
reading?
Was math, yeah. Because it's he doesn't know what an axis is because he doesn't like math. Because if anybody knows me, they know that math is very much a part of the axis of evil.
I agree with that.
His George W. Bush is much better than the Alec Baldwin Trump, but it's still, I can't watch a movie of it. I can't watch it. Imagine if they made an Alec Baldwin Trump movie. It's worse than shooting someone.
It'd be really tough. They did. That Will Ferrell did a one-man show. A George W. Bush one-man show. Yeah, that I watched. That I thought I seemed to recall thinking it was funny.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Was it the Commander in Chief? Is that what the name of it was? Maybe.
Yeah, I think that was the name.
Man, you guys have opened.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no,
I'm just still talking about comedies here. It's, you know, like you guys have opened such a can of worms. I got on and looked at the 100 all-time greatest comedies on IMDb, which I knew would just bring up things, but like Office Space, Super Troopers, Clerks.
Oh shit!
We did mention Super Troopers. I thought about Clerks.
Clerks would be my Kevin Smith entry. And it definitely deserves consideration. I don't think it deserves.
South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. That was a great movie. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
I watched the first 20 minutes of that on a plane the other day, and it didn't do what it used to do for me.
What?
There's funny? There's good jokes.
Where is Ace Ventura, Pet Detective 2? Personal Dusty.
I really actually like that movie. That's a good one. The Monopoly Man stuff.
It's the better.
I watched 2 way more than I watched 1 when I was a kid because 1 has way more like sex stuff in it, and my mom wasn't into that for some reason. The jungles,
it worked out.
In the jungles, it's fine. So Ace Ventura 2, coming out of the rhino butt. Like there was a point in time where you couldn't have convinced me that there was anything funnier than Jim Carrey coming out of that rhino's ass. Like because it speaks to, if we're talking about comedy, when the fan stops working, there's a little moment where he looks at the fan and then he taps it like that. He hopes that will fix it somehow. And then he's upset. Like it's that to me is the funniest part of that little sequence is, but I figured we weren't doing Jim Carrey.
Right.
We didn't want to double up because we already put Dumb and Dumber in. Because I would also put Liar Liar.
I love that movie.
A couple of years later, I don't know that you could have told me Liar Liar wasn't the funniest movie that human beings were capable.
What about Groundhog Day?
It's a good one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's hilarious. Me, that's not a funny movie.
I think Caddyshack's funnier than Groundhog Day. And I probably don't put Caddyshack on it though. I think Happy Gilmore's funnier than Caddyshack, which is blasphemy for a lot of people. But I think Happy Gilmore's, dude, fucking Chevy Chase was so good in Caddyshack. That's one of the goats right
Where's
there.
the nomination for Vegas Vacation? I almost bought Vegas Vacation this very day.
What are you talking about?
It's
this very day.
It's on sale for $4.99. No, Mr. Yeah, because it's so good you need to give it to the world. Look, TNT wouldn't have played it so much.
That's why you were just subjected to it too much.
They played it every Sunday afternoon. Mr. Papa Giorgio
else was on, and Chevy. Is Randy Quaid in that one? I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember they go to the Dirtbag Casino because he's out of money.
Because I haven't seen it.
The Dirtbag Casino is probably Circus. Is it Circus?
No, it's like a legit like underground because he runs out of money. So then all the games are like rock paper scissors, or like one guy just holds a number behind on his fingers behind, and you have to guess what the number is. Because that's where Randy Quaid does all of his gambling.
We have to.
Oh my god, that's one of my favorites, dude. Like that's one of the funniest, most quotable movies of all time.
I might have seen Joe Dirt before I saw Silence of the Lambs, just because of my weird, as I said before, very Christian.
I still don't think I've seen Silence
because of my weird, very Christian upbringing, and still I understood the jokes when he was in the pit were very funny. It puts the lotion on the skin. It gives the Joe Dirt the Auto Trader magazine.
He goes. It gets the Joe Dirt out of the
all right. I put the lotion on already.
And then like he's in the hole, but he has the Auto Trader, and I forget what car it is, but he's like, "Oh, sick, a GTO." He's like, suddenly he doesn't care that he's stuck in this stupid hole.
I'll never forget the fucking night. Like somebody. I don't even remember who it was. They came over and they're like, "We're gonna go see Joe Dirt. Do you want to come with us?" And I was like, "What's that?" I had never even heard of it. I missed the trailer or whatever. And they were like, "It's the new David Spade movie." And I was just like, "You guys are excited to go see a David Spade movie?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay." And so we went. But man, like that movie changed my life. I fucking love Joe Dirt.
It's so funny. And Spade is like. This is why I defended Rob Schneider recently, and I don't put them in the same category. Because
you mean an hour ago?
No,
when you defended
it? We said it again like a month ago.
Okay, yeah.
Like we had the conversation. Spade is like underrated.
Yeah, he's great.
Very funny person. Like in conversation, he's funny. I haven't seen his stand up. In conversation, he's really funny. He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
In what he does, he plays David Spade and everything. But like, except for Joe Dirt. I mean, he was.
He should have won a fucking Oscar for that.
He had to play there. I can see down.
I got the poo on me.
Check out.
That's a space peanut.
Check out this 2001. This is Joe Dirt 2001. I think so. Pre 9/11. That's a world we could live in with Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once 9/11 happened,
have you seen Joe Dirt 2?
This double.
Anybody?
I refused because I was like, "There's no way. There's no way it's good, and it's just gonna hurt."
I can't. Yep. It's one of those where you won't get 15 minutes in. You'll be like, "I know for a fact this ain't gonna get any better," and I'm done. Like in 15 minutes.
Yep. Joe Dirt.
It really shouldn't. It was so charming.
Like they got incredible.
Yeah.
They got so lucky that it was that good because that movie is like right on the edge of being. Fucking
God,
bad,
see,
like
I would
really
put that
bad.
on a fucking list with Dumb and Dumber. I would.
Works.
I mean, like,
it's.
I wouldn't put it up there with Dumb and Dumber.
Way
I would put it up there. Like
okay.
I would put it on the thing. I'm just saying, like, if you squint at it, you see the worst movie you've ever seen. But somehow they wrote jokes that can carry that movie.
Well, it got everybody at the right time where no one hated him yet. Like Dennis Miller. Is he is unbearable in certain regards as a human being. In that movie, he's great. He's doing the Dennis Miller thing that we all liked at that time.
Kid
Rock,
best thing Kid Rock ever did.
Good in that movie. Yeah, we know your name, Dirt. I'll thank you to give proper love to "I Am the Bull God" by Kid Rock. If you're talking about the best things Kid Rock ever did. No.
What's that one movie with that Mack truck guy that song that Pat Finnerty did?
Oh, Monster Truck. Don't tell me how to live.
Tell me how to live. Yeah, that's what it is.
No. So 2001, I was 16 years old. I went to the mall. My mom went shopping. She gave me $10. Movies were $5 each. What a time to be alive. I went and saw Josie and the Pussycats and Joe Dirt same afternoon. That's a pretty good day.
Yeah,
that might be a top 5 day. It's really good, and the music's good. Tara Reid can't drum for shit,
one of the best
but the music's really
in the world,
good,
man. Done by members of Letters to Cleo, one of my favorite '90s bands.
I didn't play drums when I watched that movie, and then I watched it again recently, and I was like, Tara Reid, they did not whatever boot camp they put her through. Like they got through it, they got enough. She's not doing any of that stuff.
She got close. She got close. But yeah, she's the one.
Yeah.
She's an actress who can't act. So like, she's not a drummer. You think she's going to be good at that?
Because like Tim Meadows for Dewey Cox, they talked about like he got the hands down pretty well. He just couldn't play with his feet. And there's a really funny thing on Conan O'Brien where he sits in front of Max Weinberg, and Max Weinberg plays the feet and he's playing the hands, and it doesn't sound that bad. But I don't even know that Tara Reid could have, like, there's a lot of trick shots in that in those band performances. But yeah, that movie was really, really good, and that's like a sneaky smart comedy about the music business. Parker Posey's awesome in that movie. Like,
fantastic.
That's a great movie.
Dusty, did you like Joe Dirt?
So
yeah, it gets quoted a lot this time of year. You're gonna tell me you don't have whistling bungholes? Yeah.
Input with or without the scooter stick.
Yeah. What's funny is we talk about how
Husker don't.
We talk about how like Anchorman and Borat and those movies got like drove into the ground. Every time I see the thing about the fireworks stand, it makes me laugh. Even though I see it every year, like somehow it hasn't run out. It hasn't run its course. Whenever he goes, you're gonna stand there owning a fireworks stand and tell me.
I always make that. I use that as an analogy a lot when when we want to play a song on the radio, but like somebody doesn't like it, like somebody in our team doesn't like it, but it's like a popular song. I'm like, listen, we can't just sell snakes and sparklers. We have to, we can't just do the only ones we like. So we are. I've currently got Billy Madison. Are we doing a Farrell?
I don't know that we could come to a consensus on Farrell.
I think if we leaned one, we'd lean Talladega Nights, but Dusty Strickland likes it so little that I think we skip it.
I think the one would be Old School, but like Jacob said, that's not really his movie, and I think that particular type of comedy is represented better by the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like that's the same reason I'll put Wedding Crashers on there, even though I think Wedding Crashers has a lot of good jokes in it,
and all the movies.
Okay, so I've got
Wedding Crashers has
it has way more. Yeah.
So we've got Billy Madison, The Spy Who Shagged Me, Son-in-Law, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Joe Dirt, and UHF. And I wrote Friday down. But is fucking Joe Dirt going to win this?
My vote is for The Spy Who Shagged Me, I think.
But,
okay. I think I might be more comfortable.
I am only one man.
And we can only pick one movie out of all these?
I mean, we can do 5. Yeah, we can do 4. Because if we did 5, that's taking 6 weeks of podcast time up, and there's some people who probably get pissed about 6 weeks of one topic.
You know, Cal, I'm gonna have to hear other people's votes first. Because I mean, once you put Joe Dirt on that list, it's like shining bright, like a shiny meteorite that you find,
like a space peanut.
Dude, it's shining bright like a space. It's an old crapper tank. When I was a kid, the scene that I would rewind every time, and he's sitting on the swing, and he's thinking about it. He's looking up at the moon, and the swing breaks, and when he hits this, it's just this quiet, super quiet scene. It's just a shot of him, and this fucking swing breaks, and he falls to the ground, and the narration goes, I thought I had broken my ass bone. I was like 13 or 14 years old. I probably watched that like 12 times in a row. So for me, I don't know. Like, I love UHF.
I love all these movies.
I love all these movies.
I don't. Yeah,
I feel like.
Go ahead. Yeah,
go ahead. I feel like this is between Joe Dirt and The Spy Who
I'm with Joe. I'm between Joe Dirt, UHF, and The Spy Who Shagged Me, and Billy Madison. I love all these movies.
I'm between
all 5 of these 10 movies.
Okay. Okay, let's do this. Let's go Dusty Strickland, Joe Dirt, The Spy Who Shagged Me, and UHF. Is there one of those that you would eliminate, or is there one that you feel strongly about positively?
I wouldn't vote for Austin Powers for sure. So it would be between Joe Dirt and UHF.
Okay.
I like your
Joe
thinking.
Dirt and UHF. Jacob, you're between those three. Dusty, I know you said you were leaning The Spy Who Shagged Me. What's your number? What's your ranking of this?
Yeah, I think I could go Joe Dirt. I could easily go Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
But I think Spy Who Shagged Me is I don't know that it's a funnier movie, I guess. So I could go either one of those. I would be happy.
If I had to pick between the two, which is the funnier movie, like in terms of better comedy, I think probably Austin Powers I would pick as the funnier movie out of those. But we have one in the group that's vehemently against Austin Powers. Not vehemently, but you know what I mean. So I'm okay with leaning Joe Dirt because of that. Because this is like a communal thing, right? Yeah. If it was a tie, Dusty 2 and I would have the final say. We'd have a powwow. But since we all feel like we all like Joe Dirt, and the only one that's been eliminated by any of us is The Spy Who Shagged Me by Dusty 1. I almost think I feel like we might have to go Joe Dirt on this.
I'm gonna lean in here, and like I said, that Space Peanut's shining bright. I'm thinking of like all the amazing things. Like I'm even like I'm like watching them both in my head, like Spy Who Shagged Me and Joe Dirt, and I'm like, with Spy Who Shagged Me, I have this like it's funny, but you know it's like really like tongue in cheek funny. Joe Dirt has more heart than any fucking football movie, than any fucking Rocky movie. Like it's got more heart than Rad, man. Like Joe Dirt makes you feel Joe Dirt makes you feel like you can take over, like you can do it. If Joe Dirt can do it, yeah. And so I'm gonna agree that Joe Dirt belongs on a list of the best comedies of all time. It really does.
This is gonna be. Do you know, like, there's gonna be listeners because we actually have some.
Got a few,
yeah. Some people listen to this. I've heard.
Yeah.
There's gonna be people who are like, I can't fucking believe.
Well,
that they had a 2-hour podcast about what the fourth movie's gonna be in the history of comedy. You know, how Mad Ben's gonna be that Joe Dirt ended up being the fourth movie.
Well, the other thing is it's one that we know Dusty 1 likes, because all of his great suggestions, which are all great movies, we didn't take.
They're not even on this list.
Yeah, which is a bummer. Like,
Son-in-law's on there, but we did.
I added Son-in-Law. Yeah. The problem was a lot of the movies that you listed I haven't seen, so like I'm down to do a movie I haven't seen, but we'd have to come to a consensus on that. But I think I did. Fuck.
For us, look, I think the easiest way to say it is for this group of people, which me and Andrew picked the 3 movies, and now the 4 of us are picking the 4th movie. For this group of people, these are the movies that we want to watch to see which one's the funniest one, or which one we consider to be the funniest. Like, it's not a value judgment on the history of comedy, because like I don't know, I might have seen Animal House. We talked about Animal House last week. I might have seen Animal House. I know I've seen like Revenge of the Nerds, shit like that. I'm not. Yeah,
I don't like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
There's some funny jokes in it, but
I wouldn't put it on a list. I didn't think American Pie was that funny.
Yeah,
and I know that I'm out
got
on
a lot
of
drama
on that one,
you know,
but
like.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those. It was one of those, like, it was an early on titty comedy that didn't really, like, the joke writing wasn't as sophisticated as some of them eventually got. Like, and I'm saying like old school is more sophisticated than American Pie. It just seems like it had better writers. But Sean William Scott really puts things over the top. I can tell you that.
American Pie, like my high school experience, American Pie did not speak to what my high school. Maybe for people whose thing it was, that's why it's very funny to them. But I didn't relate to like any of those characters in that movie. And weirdly enough, while Joe Dirt is like a insane, like heightened comedy with like insane characters, I'm not from the South, but my whole family is from the South. And I don't know Joe Dirt, but I've certainly met dudes like Kid Rock and Joe Dirt in my real life. And that speaks to a particular thing, you know, and that makes it funnier. Like some of it is like Austin Powers is funny in spite of the fact that I've never been a secret agent, but some of it is comedy speaks to you because you relate to those characters, especially in something like American Pie, where you're supposed to empathize with those people, you know, and care about them to laugh at them.
Stifler never had "Life's a Garden, Dig It, You Can't Have No."
American Pie was it was actually a revival. It was kind of like Scream was. It was a revival of the titty comedy for the 90s. And because the 80s, I mean, like you got Revenge of the Nerds, you got Porky's, you got Police Academy was kind of a titty comedy. The first one was. It was rated R. And even this old movie called Cave Girl that I've seen too many times, like half the reason that movie exists is just to show breasts. And you know, like
just one of the guys.
God, I love
that's
that
like
movie.
the whole point of Just One of the Guys.
What's her name? Sherilyn Fenn. And everybody talks to her about like Twin Peaks and all kinds of stuff. And I was just like, you were in Just One of the Guys. And she's like, oh my God. Because like nobody brings that one up. But yeah, man. But yeah. Like American Pie was just like, okay, we're going to be like 90s kids. So it didn't even have like the gratuitous nudity. Like there was a reason behind nudity in American Pie.
Until like whichever one Shannon Elizabeth, which one does Shannon Elizabeth
part one.
get naked at Nadia?
She's in the first one.
Oh, it had that moment.
And you know,
that was a little gratuitous, but it was.
Well,
still,
yeah.
I get
but
your point.
I mean, like that had a reason, like that had a plot thing going on. You know, it wasn't just like some girl's top falls off or some girl takes her top off. Or like if you watch American Reunion, like there's a butt naked woman in that movie for like 15 minutes of screen time, just like flopping all over the place, man. And she's all drunk, and Jason Biggs having to drive her home and stuff like that. But anyway, I only just wanted to mention that because Andrew's like, you know, American Pie is like an old school, you know, titty comedy. No, it was a revival of old school titty comedies. But I understand, and I would like to. I know.
I didn't call it old school. I was referring to the movie old school.
No. You said something else. You said something else a minute ago. You didn't say old school, but you said something. But
it was. I said
okay. But the reason I bring that up is I understand because that's just your experience in life. Because the cop that pulled over Justin Timberlake the other day had never heard of Justin Timberlake, and I'm sure that drove Justin Timberlake crazy. You know,
a devastating L for Justin Timberlake.
For the record, I saw quite a bit of Porky's when I was a kid, but that Justin Timberlake story, the best part is this is going to ruin the tour. What tour? He's just like passive aggressively trying to tell the cop that he's a world famous entertainer.
You're keeping me from entertaining
real
the
quick.
world.
So I gotta give a shout out. Dusty One, not Tropic Thunder. Pineapple Express was a great call. I think the conversation between that and Superbad would be a very interesting one. I think I would go Pineapple Express, but it's very fun. And I don't want to relitigate, but I think I should have written down one of those two movies because I think for all the shit that Apatow did, he did churn out some good stuff. And I think Danny McBride and Pineapple Express is just fucking unbelievably funny.
I think my big problem with Pineapple Express is that he drives a Daewoo Lanos, and I also at one point in my life had to drive a Daewoo Lanos, and that's the literal worst car in the history of cars. As a Mechanic Dusty 2, or as a Mechanic Dusty 1, I assume that you might know, I had a guy work on it one time, and he took the wiring harness apart, and all of the colors that were in the wiring harness did not correspond to what was in the manual. And so he told me that he thought that car was, even though it was made in South Korea, he thought that it was a plot by North Koreans to drive people insane because of how badly made that car was. So maybe it's personal hatred that keeps Pineapple Express out. But that's a very funny movie. So the definitive four.
The four.
We got Tropic Thunder, Dumb and Dumber, 40-Year-Old Virgin, and The Adventures of Joe Dirt. That is going to be the bracket. If you two gentlemen have a second, because Andrew and I talked about this on a previous episode, and I know you guys are more plugged into this sort of thing. Where are we at on the Deadpool Wolverine hype train? Is there any juice left in the Marvel thing? Could they do something to bring you back? I don't even remember if you were. I assume you were into comic books and stuff, Dusty, because I listened to the episodes.
Oh yeah.
Were you into Marvel the movies? Are you? If you were, are you out again?
They've been shit for a little while now, but mostly because they behind the scenes shit, too much AI, too much fucking treating their people like shit. So you can see the quality in the stuff, but I think it could be. I think it could be good if they give enough of a fuck about it and they let what's his name, Feige, like control it. I think they've had him spread too thin here lately, and if this is him coming back and getting it all in line, then I think it could be good. The other Deadpools are all right. Logan was fantastic, so I'm not against either one of them, but we'll see. I won't go to the theater to see it. I'll see it fucking 6 months from now when it's on streaming.
Yeah,
on Disney Plus.
Dusty and Jacob, neither of them go to.
That's not true. That's not true.
Jacob,
I will go to the theater to see this. I go for big stuff. God, I can't remember the last thing I went to the theater to see, but Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So like something like that. Yeah, I'll go fucking sit in the theater and watch Ghostbusters and try to capture a little drip of memory or nostalgia. But I am not. There's nothing in these trailers that's making me go, "Oh fuck." It looks fine. It looks like they're gonna do some funny jokes, and they're probably gonna pull out some stuff we don't expect, and some member berries, and yeah. I watched the Marvels. Was that the last one?
The Marvels.
I really enjoyed that movie. So I'm still kind of on board with Marvel, I guess. Dusty didn't enjoy it, but man, the girl who plays Miss Marvel, you could just put her in her own, like she could be in any movie, and I'd love it because she's fucking awesome. And
yeah, everybody in the movie is fantastic. But
I couldn't tell you what it was about right now. Like, but
it's completely forgettable.
I enjoyed
green screen CGI.
I enjoyed watching it while I watched it, but it didn't change my fucking life. It's crazy because like we were, my wife and I were just talking about that the other day. Endgame and Infinity War were like such a monumental moment in everybody's fucking life. You can go back and look at like theater reactions to like Infinity War and Endgame, and we were all like on our fucking feet because we had 20 movies to build us up that were really well done, and we were so stoked. And like after fucking getting off that hard, like you're not. It's like heroin. It's just like you're only gonna give me a little bit of heroin now, like so like I can't handle. I need to get high, man. And that's just kind of how I feel about Marvel now, because like I don't like the shows. They go on too long for as little to happen as happens. Just like same thing that happened in Star Wars. I stopped watching any Star Wars shit because there's too much shit going on for me to care. Like
the last one that was any good was Guardians 3. And it was because somebody that gave a fuck about the story he was telling made it. And it was a legit good
I like
movie.
that movie. That was good.
Everything else is a half-ass here lately.
Yeah.
So.
Hopefully, the meta stuff will be, Deadpool. I'm glad Hugh Jackman's back. I've always really enjoyed him as Wolverine, and getting to see him one more time, especially in the fucking yellow costume, dude. Please put the mask on. Put the mask on. Show me that stupid fucking mask in real life, please.
Oh, you want him to wear a face diaper?
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. The Wolverine mask. I want the thing. No, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it seemed like people had juice through the Spider.
Yeah, he died.
Don't say that word.
The last the people were still in for the last Spider-Man for No Way Home because they when they did it. You know,
that was big. That was fun. I forgot about
that. That it was giant, not that it was necessarily good, but it was giant, you know. And I think part of the problem is they went straight to the Eternals after Endgame, and everybody was like, "Who are all these people, and why? Like, why do I care about?"
You are literally giving me flashbacks,
10 new characters.
Because I forgot about that fucking movie, and that movie sucked. I went to the theater for that, and it was horrible.
It's so funny that Kumail Nanjiani did steroids and got buffed for 2 years for that movie.
And he's not. They're never going back.
and got some trauma from it too because of all the shit he went through. And then it was just everybody shit on the movie so hard.
It was horrible.
He had to go to therapy and shit for that.
And he'll never be in another thing. He'll never be in another Marvel thing because they're never bringing any.
Watching all those fucking Eternals action figures go on clearance real fast.
He's actually in something else as that character. I don't remember if it's one of the Disney Plus shows. Because he was like an actor in that movie.
Yeah.
He's in something else, but it's not. It's nothing to warrant a jacked physique for. He doesn't.
Yeah, it's to eat grilled chicken and broccoli for 9 months so you can be in this movie.
Yeah,
he was. And I don't know if he's doing stand up anymore, but when he was just a skinny Pakistani guy who nobody knew who he was, his fucking stand up was so good. And then I found out he's gonna be in a Marvel movie.
His Freddy Krueger joke for the Freddy vs. Jason movie is one of my favorite jokes.
Is he in that? No. He's just
he's telling a joke about it, how Freddy Krueger makes a crack about dark meat and everybody in the theater boos him, and he's like, "Oh, okay, mass murderer Freddy Krueger, fine." Yeah. But not this off-color joke. He turned the crowd.
He's really funny in Ghostbusters too, the Frozen Empire. He was really good in that.
He was good.
And he's in that, what's that movie, The Big Sick?
The Big Sick is good.
That's a really good movie. Yeah. Andrew and I have been talking. We've been taking a little bit of a wager about what we think Deadpool and Wolverine's going to do at the box office, because people have been doom and glooming the box office, even though Inside Out just made $155 million on its opening weekend. Wow. Yeah, and it's good. I went and saw it yesterday. Wow. It's very good.
Wait, you mean they could have actually paid Bill Hader and that other person what they asked for, and
they probably could have paid Bill Hader.
Bummer.
So 155 is, I think, one of the bigger openings since the pandemic went out. So I still think, I haven't put my official number in, but I think this is a big enough thing where people are going to come, even if it's just for this.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's kind of
and I
the
read
versus movies and anything team up movie.
Right. Well, and I read a theory that you're gonna love this, Andrew, that they're gonna find a way to retcon the end of Endgame so they can bring Robert Downey Jr. back as Iron Man. And if they do that, that smacks of a desperation. They're still making money. Nobody's dying over at Disney Marvel because Iron Man or because Ant-Man 3 didn't do the most money ever made. So if they bring Robert Downey Jr. back, that seems to pull this emergency lever.
Dude, RDJ does not need that. He just won a fucking Oscar. He does not even need to go back.
But if they back
America,
they back a Brinks truck up to Robert Downey. All the money they didn't pay Bill Hader, they will pay Robert Downey Jr. to save Marvel, because to them they need it. But I like
the movie industry isn't thoroughly enough fucked. We got to bring Robert Downey Jr. back into Marvel movies. Make sure they're the only movies that matter again, and then just completely drive everything back down the toilet. Man. That's a good idea.
For real. I'm glad the DCU is over.
Andrew's the only guy that didn't get caught in the hype.
That's true. That's true.
And it wasn't really intentional. Like it wasn't like I don't want to watch those movies. I just don't go watch movies. 80% of the movies I've seen in my entire life, I watched the podcast I was on with you guys. So like it's not that I was like I don't want to do this anymore. But as an outsider who's not watching these movies and who isn't caught up in the whole thing, to stand up outside and then watch the movie industry just get completely reliant upon fucking superheroes and pre-existing property. It's really I wish they could do all that shit and do what they want and make you guys happy and rain fucking just rain all the happiness on all the nerds, and the movie industry doesn't die. But I don't know if that's possible. So that's why I end up rooting against them.
Well, I think that you should maybe give The Hitman a shot, because The Hitman is the kind of movie that people use that they say people used to make that you can't make anymore because it wouldn't make its money back. Nobody wants to make that movie. So that's like,
yeah, that's my problem. I also don't support other movies.
Right. Like you don't have a horse in the race. You don't have any horse in the race. You're lamenting the death from the outside.
Where the fuck did this Glenn Powell guy come from?
He's in Top Gun Maverick,
dude. Everywhere now. Oh yeah, he's in Maverick.
They're trying to make a guy. That used to be the way they'd make a guy. You put him in that, then you put him in a couple other things. Then he's Ryan Reynolds. They tried that with Ryan Reynolds for like a bunch of times until Deadpool hit, which was his idea. Like nothing worked until Deadpool, really, because again, to the video store days, I was like, this dude's indefinitely maybe and waiting, and he's in some other action.
That's a great comment right there. I'm going to say
some other action flick, and it's like nothing sticks for this
Van
guy.
Wilder.
Van Wilder, and then finally they put him in the Wolverine movie, the terrible Wolverine movie as Deadpool, and then he finally, like, I don't know if he got low enough where they were just like, we'll just let you do it, so you'll leave us alone. We don't think it's going to work, and then it worked, and now he's everywhere, and he's, to my mind, a little bit overexposed. Even though I'm going to go see the Deadpool Wolverine movie.
He has completely adopted the Deadpool. Like,
yeah,
Deadpool
he's just that guy.
Ryan Reynolds now. Like, that's just what he's doing all the time.
When he sells Mint Mobile commercials, when he's selling whatever alcohol he bought part of, he's always Deadpool. Dusty, did you watch Madam Web yet?
I turned it on the other night. I didn't last very long. I just I'm not feeling this.
Yep.
I watched Godzilla -1, and then I turned it on after it, and I was like, I'm not following Madam Web after this.
You're going to go to something terrible after Godzilla. I haven't seen Godzilla -1, but that's one that I've been considering watching.
It's incredible.
It's dope as fuck.
Yeah, but watch it not on net, or if it's on Netflix, I don't know if they have the subtitle option. They have the dubbed version, which is
dubbed.
Okay. I did not like the dubbed one. Give me the Japanese. I'll read it.
Yeah.
Just give it to.
Yeah, I'm not a big dub guy.
I don't think I could select which one you wanted. I don't think you could do.
No,
it.
This is not a value judgment. I was just when it came up, I was like, oh man, I'll still watch it because it's dope.
In a few months, they're putting a black and white version out that's supposed to be all original.
Is it 4 hours long?
No, that's the version
it's the same movie. It's black and white and has Japanese audio with English subtitles.
That's the one I saw in the theater. And so because I missed it the first time through, so I made sure to go see it. Yeah. It's really, really great.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the first episode of House of Dragon, season 2?
My wife is really into it. I don't care at all, and I won't care. I also will not care.
I'm not a housewife or a football player, so I no longer give a fuck about Game of Thrones.
You think it's only housewives and football players?
That's what they specifically said about Game of Thrones. Is they was like, we don't want like the nerdy crowd. We want to appeal to housewives and football players. And I was like, well, that's not me.
That makes sense. I'm way cooler than all you guys, so I enjoy it.
They got you in 2 of these: House of Dragon and Shogun, and the Bears coming back.
Shogun's the shit, dude. Shogun's fucking.
You're gonna be your TV
I gotta
guy
watch
now.
Shogun.
Yeah, Shogun's really good. The Bear's fine. The Bear was like I get it, guys. You're yelling at each other. Like, oh man, I can't wait to watch 30 more minutes of all these people yelling at each other tonight. But it was really well done. I didn't watch the last like 2 episodes of the most recent season before this one that came out.
I don't like shows anymore.
Anyway,
I just haven't. Like there's too many of them. I'll watch a season or 2, and then it'll take too long to make the next season. And then by the time it comes back, I don't remember what happened, and I don't care. And my wife will.
Your wife nailed it.
She before House of the Dragon season 2, she watched season 1 again. You know, like she'll do that, and just I can't do that. Like that's so much show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I watched a YouTube video that recapped everything. But the first episode of this season is pretty brutal. Something pretty brutal happens. I'm not gonna tell you because I don't want to spoil the people who are watching. But something pretty fucking brutal.
Sounds like Game of Thrones.
And, but I enjoy it. Yeah. But Shogun is like really well done. It was only going to be 1 season, but they ended up because it's like they did a whole book in 1 season, and there's no more source material, so it might start sucking ass after this. But I'm gonna keep
like
watching.
Game of Thrones. Not unlike Game of Thrones.
But Game of Thrones had like 7 seasons of source material. You know,
well, it doesn't really suck until the end when they ran out of stuff.
Yeah, when they ran out of story.
Yeah, those fucking nerds thought they were going to go make a Star Wars movie, and they were like, "No, we gotta hurry up and finish this shit."
And they didn't make those Star Wars movies.
Yeah, they're like, HBO, can you give us just 6 episodes? And they're like, are you sure you can do it in 6 episodes? Yeah, no, it'd be great. It'd be fine.
Everyone will love
it. You can have as many as you want. No, we got to get out of here.
We gave you 12 before. We could do 12 again. No. 6 is all we do.
No, you know that White Walker thing we've been talking about for literally 10 years? Yeah,
we'll just take care of that. Wrap it right up. We'll wrap it up.
Wrap it right up.
The look on my face when I found out those motherfuckers played D&D. I was like, are you fucking serious? You had like this built from the ground up D&D campaign that you got to make for a show, and you did nothing but, like, for the most part, normal, violent people shit. Like, you did put magic in that shit.
That's a perfect thought on that too, because they wrapped it up like half of the guild is going to college. So you had to wrap up this campaign really quick, and you couldn't finish it.
One of the guys at the table made it awkward last game, so we gotta wrap this fucking up so we can.
It's 11 o'clock. I gotta get home.
Yeah. John's getting married, so he has to leave the group. So we have to finish this. We have to finish this up.
I think I liked the idea that they were going for, which is like you spend all this time selling that the threat is the White Walkers and not the Game of Thrones, but then it turns out that it is really the Game of Thrones. But I liked it more that it was like, oh shit, yeah, none of that other stuff matters because there's an undead zombie army heading your way. So like all your bullshit you've been playing for 7 seasons doesn't mean anything if there's no world for you to like fake rule or whatever. And then they were just like, nah, we don't want that. Would take a lot of time to really delve into all of that existentialism. We'll just kill the main guy, and just like the cop out in those Marvel movies, you kill the main thing, all the other dudes die, no problem. They have an ice dragon, not
super
a problem.
Easy, barely an inconvenience.
Yeah.
It was the ending was kind of like the ending of Das Bus, where they were saved by, let's say, Mo. Like at the end of the series, the Iron Throne is set upon by, let's say, Bran Stark. Like it's just you're just the one guy that everybody was like, I would have rather fucking Tyrion. Or just throw a dart in the air. If it doesn't land on the cripple kid, I'm happy with that person being on the fucking throne.
But only because they made him completely intolerable in that show. Like I don't know if it was the acting of the kid, or if it was just the writing, or if he was given that direction. But he just, every time they got to him, he'd just be like, "Doesn't matter. I see the future. I see the past. I see it all. Who cares?" I'm like, okay, well,
he knows everything, but provides nothing.
You'd like to give a little gravitas to this situation? Maybe tell the dude that that's his aunt? No, doesn't matter to you.
So,
you live outside of time.
We got to finish this shit. Who does everybody online think is going to be the winner? Oh, they think it's this guy. Well, let's put it as Bran. Nobody has made a theory that Bran is the fucking guy. So
could versus should. It's the classic Jurassic Park conundrum. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming on. We will sidebar as to who's going to do what episode and when. Jacob, you claimed Dumb and Dumber very early. Do you want to continue on Dumb and Dumber, or we rethinking it? You're continuing on Dumb and Dumber. Okay.
I think as a show of magnanimousness to Dusty 1, we should let him do Joe Dirt because he doesn't want to do the other two. He doesn't care about the other two movies at all. So I think that would be.
I'm okay.
That would be the nice thing.
I think you're low key throwing some shade over here. That I'm the I'm the Southern redneck, so I may have a little bit more insight to this movie, which I'm now realizing it destroys my argument for Talladega Nights.
No, it is purely based on taste. You were like, I don't care about the 40-year-old virgin. I don't care about Tropic Thunder. Unless you want to do one of those, you're welcome to it.
No, I'm fine with Joe Dirt.
Okay.
I'm fine with Joe Dirt.
It's great because we're gonna make, if Ben does it, we're gonna make Ben Evans either watch Tropic Thunder or what's the other one?
40-year-old virgin.
40-year-old virgin.
And I've never even met Ben, so this might be the worst meeting of all time. If he hates
all of them, Tropic Thunder would probably be the one I would as a guess pick that Ben might like better than the other ones.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely no way of knowing until he opens his fucking mouth.
It's hard to tell. That's why we love him so much, because he's you never know if he's going to think it's the greatest thing in the world or the worst.
Him and Jacob came over a few months ago, and like, I collect action figures. I've got some of the coolest fucking action figures you've ever fucking seen. Me and Jacob just drool over these things. We have a thing in our town called a bin store. I don't know if it's a thing where you guys live, but it's returned. I'm assuming returned Temu and Wish shit that's either broke or just overstock or whatever. And my wife loves it, and I despise this place. But she bought me some Ninja Turtle toys that when they get here, they're very obviously knockoffs, like cheap. The ones that you see pop up in your Facebook ads for like, oh, you can buy this entire set of things for like $3 on Wish. And they're the worst fucking toys I've ever seen.
The Ninja Turtles look like they just heard about 9/11.
They're
horrible. They're badly made, cheap plastic, just.
And Splinter looks like a fucking raccoon.
All cross-eyed and shit.
And we're always showing Ben these other toys that I have. We're like, look at this. And he's like, yeah, wouldn't it be great if we had these things when we was 12? I had those fucking things laying on my table, going to show him, like, look at this shit. Ha, ha, ha. He fucking loved
took them home.
He took 2 of them home with him. He talked about them all night.
Played with them.
They were the greatest things since sliced fucking bread. And it just blew my guys. Like, here we are trying to show you this awesome shit. And you're like, fuck all that shit. What is this? So, who knows what movie he will like.
He's an agent of chaos. That's fantastic.
He is.
It's like the cup and ball.
You think it's over there, but it's over there. Do you know how often I think about his intro to the Rob Zombie
Oh my god!
Psycho
Circus
Freaks. Rob Zombie. It's Psycho Circus Freaks. But I can't wait. We'll talk about it. We're gonna start next week. I don't know what movie we're starting with, but thank you for listening. Thank you guys again for coming on, and follow us on the socials. And that's been Snark Marks.
Bye everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Jacob's got